Good evening again, everybody. The Planning Board will resume the open public meeting for August 3rd, 2021. First, I had already read the notice for this evening as the first part of when I opened up the public meeting, so I won't read that again. We'll resume to our agenda. First on our agenda this evening, we are going to discuss the review of the decision for 425 Whitney Street. And hello, Attorney Janeski. Thank you for joining us as we review this. In the effort to maybe maximize, or if there are any initial questions for Attorney Janeski, maybe we can ask them to start in the event he needs to go. Do we have you for a certain amount of time, or would you prefer we ask questions?
I'm free for your time period.
Okay, I just want to be respectful of your time. Okay, great. So my questions were, you had highlighted a few components of the decision, and I wanted to just make sure that we understood what you had met. For the rest of the board, does everyone have a copy of the suggested revisions from Town Council?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. So I'm starting with what is on page 8. The first highlighted piece is environmental partners. And just for clarification, was that for, you wanted us to confirm the name or any reason for highlighting?
The issue there, Madam Chair, was that it says reviewers, and I didn't know if it was only environmental partners that spoke to that issue or any of the others.
So we should add
environmental partners because they seem to have been engaged to provide comment on a couple of items, but there were other professionals as well, as I understand it. I just want to make sure we're identifying which persons commented on what topics or issues.
So I think we should add in C and Associates to this then, because it was those two. Environmental Partners was who the contract was with, but then they engaged C and Associates, and you know, the planning board engaged with both of those, you know, as did staff with both of those consulting firms.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll add in the C and Associates. Okay.
The next piece highlighted is just a few more down, which was did not possess. The peer reviewers did not possess was highlighted.
Yes, and I highlighted that because I wasn't sure if the intent of the statement was that the reviewers did not have knowledge or ability, or they weren't provided with information in order to make the conclusion that you then talk about in the rest of the sentence.
They weren't provided with it.
So that I think is something that should be clarified.
Okay.
And if it was something that was asked for from the applicant and the applicant didn't provide it, you can word it that way. Or if it just wasn't submitted, again, just so we're clear what the factual background was.
Okay.
So is it as simple as, you know, just saying, you know, instead of did not possess, to say we're not provided with, you know, additionally, the peer reviewers were not provided with technical information to confirm automatic shutdown.
Right, but if it's the case that they weren't provided with it from the applicant, which I'm presuming would be the one that would provide it, we would want to word it to say that the applicant did not provide the peer reviewers with technical information, et cetera. Or did not, perhaps the better way to say it is did not submit for the peer reviewers the technical information.
Okay. And that theme goes throughout that entire bullet. So they didn't possess technical design information on the manual energy shutdown for X-ray processing. So that also is in the same category.
Right, there were a couple of instances where that concept was expressed. I didn't highlight them all, but that's the point
Okay,
that I was getting at.
okay. So we should clean that up universally, that statement. So it would be nor submitted technical, nor received technical design information, and further didn't receive information on the safety interlock. So just to show that all of that was not submitted.
Okay, and then the last part of that, and further had no details regarding the safety interlocks. That's okay, right? But the two sentences, the two phrases above, we're taking out possessed and put received. Nor receive the technical information regarding it, a malfunction alarm, nor receive technical design information on manual emergency shutdown for the X-ray processing system, and further had no details regarding the safety interlock.
Okay, but I thought we were doing.
But again, the point is not that they didn't have it, but that it wasn't submitted, because there's a distinction as to whether they could have had it and didn't have it on their own, or was it something that wasn't in their ability to obtain without the applicant providing it. So it may be more than just changing a word or two. I think the sentiment, as I'm understanding, is that this information was not submitted by the applicant, and therefore the reviewers could not make an evaluation or a conclusion of the type that's described.
Okay, so by adding in the beginning of that sentence, David, where the second sentence where it starts up additionally, to say additionally, the applicant did not submit for the peer reviewers technical information to confirm automatic shutdown capabilities of the chillers, nor, so we just keep repeating, nor.
Right,
did the
and then you say
applicant
you would
submit.
take out that possess the again after
Okay.
the nor in the fifth line.
Okay, all right.
And it shows up again in the next line. Yeah,
Yep,
the
okay.
idea is you're now describing those things that weren't provided.
Yep, okay.
If I could just add, some of these things weren't provided because on the peer reviewers, this wasn't within their scope. Like, does that make sense? So they would then say, I would have to go back and check, but in some instances, they would often say, this is not within our purview or in our scope of where we would actually evaluate. And I'm not sure whether they said that related to these items.
So that is true. There were separate issues where it just wasn't in their scope. For this portion of it, these are items that they did not receive. Like if you go through the peer review documents, you can see like what was not provided and what they usually said, like not in our scope or not provided.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
That is with this. If that's correct and Kathy can clarify that's right, that they just didn't provide them, that's one thing. Or they were going back and forth and there were some things not within their scope.
Yep. Okay, and then I thought there was one more highlighted area. Oh, yes.
On page 12.
Well, maybe it's 11 on mine, but maybe 12 for some people. You highlighted in number C, whatever page it's on, peer review materials as Exhibit F.
Right, and that was just to call out that it wasn't clear to me in reading this Exhibit F to what, because the preceding words refer to a document, and then there's the phrase above that regarding the peer review materials. So that was just a point to clarify, to be more specific, this document that we're being referenced, where did it come from and how was it labeled when it came to the board?
Okay, so
So I can check that, Carrie. I mean, whether we do that tonight live, it doesn't matter to me, but I can check who submitted Exhibit F, whether it was MEVIX or whether it was something that the peer reviewer labeled Exhibit F.
Okay, so when you look at it, I'm pretty sure it's in the big binder. If you go through the tabs, it'll be Exhibit F in those tabs. And it's called, that section of the book is called X-Ray Overview, Summary of the Technology and Application. And I'm pretty sure it said as the headline there on the first page is prepared by MEVIX, but you'll be able to see that obviously. But just so you know where to find it, so you're not digging through.
Right, but I think David's point is did the peer review, are they talking about, did they provide us with an Exhibit F?
Oh, no, this is from the applicant.
Right, no, I mean, I know that, but I think that's the point, is that we just need to clarify that.
Oh, okay.
So that it, because it says attached in the peer review materials as Exhibit F. So did the
okay.
peer reviewers submit Exhibit F or MEVIX? And I think, I agree with you. It's part of their document that Sarah submitted to us.
Okay. Okay. I think that was the last highlighted piece. I otherwise thought that these edits made sense, and I went through and but two things I edited on top of this. One was I changed all references of cement to concrete, except for one where we actually did mean cement. Thank you for pointing that out, Attorney Janeski.
You're welcome.
I don't know if you have a background in concrete construction, but it was a good catch. And there was a random F that I think came from an edit that was made and was just a leftover from that. So I made no additional edits beyond what the board received from Attorney Janeski. I don't know if there are any other comments or edits.
I just wanted to point out, and I actually, Carrie, I can't remember if I sent this to you and to Dave or if I sent it to all the board, but on page 2, towards the bottom of page 2, they do look like typos, but they're not. There's under exhibits 1H references a plan that was prepared in 2002, and that is correct. It's 2002. And then who it was prepared for, it's right. It is right on the plan. I double checked all this morning. It is right on the plan that it's all capital letters, RREED Management Company. And then on I had written that it was received January 3rd, 2017, which is when we did receive it, but there is a date, that the date that the person prepared this Title V report. It was prepared on December 28th, 2016. So not to be like super technical here, David, but you want me to take out that, or is it better to take out that received January 3rd, 2017 and just put that it was?
Maybe you put both of them.
Okay, so
If
that it
they're
was
both
prepared.
accurate, that's fine.
Okay. That's the only other thing I had, Carrie, just to, if anyone had looked at those.
Okay. Other questions from board members?
I only had one change, and I have to find it. It's specific findings on mine start on page 9, but I'm not looking at Attorney Janeski's. So specific findings has number 1, and then it goes to number 2, which is on page 12 of mine, I think. And it has specific findings that started with, I could even share it. Mine actually says 9 out of 12, and there's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it says adequate plan for washing cement, dust, and debris off during concrete washout.
Mhm.
I don't know if anybody can find that page.
I have,
So that was something that, huh?
sorry, I see it
So
on.
I was the one, I was the one who made that comment during deliberation. And I questioned an adequate plan for protecting the groundwater. And then I cross out washing cement, dust and debris during concrete washout of 2,000 cement trucks. So it wasn't like an adequate plan for how to wash the truck and debris. It was an adequate plan for protecting the groundwater
Right. That makes
during
sense.
the concrete washout of 2,000 cement trucks.
So Amy, do you have that revised language, or, because you were, for me at least, you were cutting in and out, so I don't know how you
Oh,
want.
yeah. Can I share screen or no? Or I could send it to you. All it says is adequate plan for, and I added protecting the groundwater. And I crossed out washing cement, comma, dust, comma, debris off. I cross those out during concrete washout of 2,000 cement trucks. Or was that one of the ones that supposed to say concrete truck?
I changed it to concrete, but it
Yeah.
was washing cement was the cement that stayed.
Okay, so again, I'm sorry, Amy, it's just, you're cutting out on me, so
I know, I have an issue with the
so I
connection.
mean, unless someone else wrote this down, but what I'm getting is adequate plan for protecting the groundwater from washing.
During concrete washout of 2,000 concrete trucks,
During concrete washout
of 2,000 concrete trucks, because they have to rinse out those trucks
2,000
after every pour.
trucks. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. I could send it to you too, just to make sure after. That was my only change.
Okay. Any other questions? I have one last question, Attorney Janeski. In the conclusion here, we could then move on to the site plan and we talk about that we would think it's a fatally deficient application. It's actually a prohibited use. It didn't meet several of the environmental performance standards on top of that. But we also did talk about it didn't even get the special permit was also denied. I don't know if we properly reflected that in here, or should we reflect that in here? Just thinking about how this will be read.
You could make a statement that in the absence of special permit approval, the proposed use is not allowed and therefore site plan approval cannot be given. And I can send a sentence to that effect to Kathy.
Oh, that would be great.
So that would be, so we would add that under specific findings as the last finding.
I didn't, my screen is very slow, so I didn't catch up to precisely what point you were at.
Okay,
that
well,
comment.
you'll tell me where to put it.
I'll give you the language and we can determine where to insert, yes.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I had no further comments. I don't know if any board members have any further comments. Okay, so I don't believe we need to take a vote on the approval of this unless we want to for good measure. Kathy, do you need a vote that the board has approved this decision, or?
No, you've already, I mean, technically you've already, you've denied the, the two applications. So, I mean, the minutes will just reflect that you reviewed it and, that you finalized the decision.
Okay,
And then so
Right.
Carrie, once I get the, just that revision from Dave Dineski, I'll let you know, and you can come in and sign it at some point this week.
Okay,
I'll send it back out to everybody with all the changes.
okay, great. So that's decision's final. Attorney Dineski, do you mind staying on for one more minute? I see, I didn't get a chance to fully review it, but it looks like Amy had a quick question about Lyman Street decision, which I think would be,
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah, Dave doesn't have a copy of the Lyman Street decision. I wasn't
Okay.
instructed to have him review it, but
He might have it because I emailed him. I emailed it to you, Carrie, and Dave really fast because I knew I was going to ask the question. So
Was that
I
today?
thought he could open it. Yep, today, probably like 5:15.
oh, he and I were on the phone. Can you pull it up, Amy? Do you have it to share, or
I'm sure, I'll try.
do you want me to pull it up?
Can you pull up? It's up to you. I can try. Let me see. I just don't know if my computer will do it.
While Amy's doing that, I just wanted to
oh, here it is.
just let everybody
Okay.
know that it's not reflected on the version we're all looking at, but I changed it just reads better, and there was, and in two different locations, the dimensions were slightly different in the documents we were reading. So on the very first page, instead of saying that that it was construction of a 148 by 128 building, I changed that to read that it was the construction of a 20,232 square foot building, which is what's consistent on the plans.
Okay.
All right, so you had a question about condition.
Yeah, my question for Attorney Dineski was, if you go up a little bit, Carrie, we approved we had two different decisions that we approved. We approved a site plan. We approved a special permit in number 1, and then we approved a special permit with site plan approval. My question to Attorney Dineski, should we have those all under one grouping and then have all the conditions? So I just didn't know where the conditions should lie. Should their conditions be under approval with site plan? Or should the conditions be under the special permit up top? Or should we just put the special permit and the special permit with site plan all in one block with the conditions underneath? So see,
My
number
reaction
one,
would be,
yeah.
however they were voted is where they should appear. And I do think it's two separate decisions. So unless you included the conditions for each, they should be broken out as to the way the board voted.
Okay, and maybe that's the way they did fall in this decision. I would just have to go back and listen. I didn't do that.
Okay, was that it, Amy?
That was my only question for him, yes.
Okay.
And also too, just so everybody, I think we did talk about this at a prior planning board meeting, but you did make the decision on June 15th. So that's what's going to be reflected in the decision, not July 6th.
Oh, yes, that's when I kept insisting we were time traveler.
That's all right. We had many meetings.
Okay. Okay, I don't think, unless anyone else has further questions for Attorney Dineski regarding these decisions, I think you're certainly welcome to join us, but you don't have to.
So is everyone all set with Lyman Street also?
Well, I think I don't know if we want to go through some of the other edits. Those are just specific. I saw
Oh, okay.
I had a question. Does regarding the edits that were made, does anyone have any comments or additional amendment suggestions?
I don't think we went through the one Lyman Street ones yet, right? I have a lot in that document, but that was the only question I had for Attorney Dineski.
Okay.
But if you pull my document up, or I can try to pull it up, I have changes starting at the beginning. And you had sent out yours before the last meeting, so I added my changes to yours. So it should have both.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
I'm just
so-
gonna pull up.
I'm sorry, Carrie.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Amy, so what you're referring to is what I did send everyone. You're not talking about new changes like as of today or yesterday?
I did have a couple small ones,
Okay, because what everyone has,
questions more like.
okay, because what everyone has is my decision, then Carrie's edits, and then you took Carrie's edits and added yours. So that's what everybody has. So now there's another version.
Yes. And I think it was one that Carrie just opened, and because I sent it to you, Carrie, and Mr. Dineski. But I think the question that very small, like there might have been an S missing at the end of a sentence. And I have a question at the decision part at the bottom. It wasn't really a change. It's another question.
Okay. A question for the Attorney Dineski, or just a question for the board?
I mean, he can answer it, or a question in general, like on old decisions that we have, when we talk about at the very bottom with our conditions. So if you go all the way down to the conditions.
Am I still going?
No, I think you're in the conditions, so you have to go up a little.
Oh, I thought you were directing me to go to
It was the first, yeah. It was the very first condition.
Okay. I think this is the first condition, right?
Yeah. Is that the one that I sent out or no? Maybe it is. What question I had was where you read on July 6th, so it's going to be June 15th, approval is for the project as presented. In all other decision we have approval is for the project, and it lists like site plan dated this date, revised this date, and this date. So I thought in our condition, our decision should point to the exact site plans versus it says, I don't know where it went now, but it was there. But it's up on A, Carrie.
Right here?
Yep. So if you look, yep. So you say in the middle of it, approve a special permit with site plan approval per such and such with the subject following to the following conditions. Approval is for the project as presented in the application and supporting documents. I wanted to ask if that should match like all previous decisions we have where it says it lists the application, the date, the site plans, the date. So it points to a specific site plan and the date. So when he's building his warehouse, what site plan he's going by.
I would say that's
Like, on
probably,
either-
I think that's probably the better course, because we do recite in these decisions the various materials that were received. And conceivably, when there are multiple versions of a plan or amendments, there could be something that's different. And so if you have approved something and you're identifying it at the time of your approval, I don't think it makes sense to reference it that way in the decision.
So reference the way it is, or like we have previous ones, it says the development of the site shall conform to the site plan dated November 18th, revision dates, December 3rd, December 12th. So,
Right,
so you don't list the dates, or you do?
No, I think we should list it, Amy. So what I can do is under exhibits,
Yep.
which is on page 2, towards the bottom, it references the site plan and all the revision dates. So I will add that instead of saying as presented, I'll add that into 3A on page 7.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so going back then, any questions on the corrections here?
Well, I think we have to start at the beginning, right? Do you want to go through them all or you don't?
Well, if they're just small like this, do you want to speak to them or you think it's self-evident or?
It's up to the board if they
Do-
want me to go through them.
So why, Amy, are you changing special permit? You're crossing out industrial activities and putting a warehouse in it? Is that what you want to
Yeah,
do?
because that's what we approved. Yep, we approved a special permit for a warehouse. There was some debate even during the hearing on whether it was going to be called light manufacturing or a warehouse, and we got down to the specifics of Bob saying it was a warehouse. So I think a special permit for industrial activities is confusing because it could be any industrial activities. Why wouldn't you
Yeah, I
list
get
a
it, I
warehouse?
get it. You don't have to explain, I get it.
Yep.
Okay. So
Okay, any
one
other-
loading dock.
And then yep. Instead of a loading dock area, it's one loading dock.
Okay, any other?
One of the changes I had today that I can run by you is it was just with wording on page 6 under general findings.
Actually, can we go back to that industrial activities? I
Mhm.
understand that it's a warehouse, but it's not just for storage. He explained that his business model, and Dave, maybe you can weigh in on this, is that his business model is that they take in certain components, separate them out of these boxes, put them into these other packages, and then get them storage to go out. So it's not just a warehouse where you go and take a box and store it. There is an activity going on there.
But he had
So
to
I don't want
declare
you to
use.
just, so I think you need to, in this decision, you want to sort of understand what you mean by it is just a warehouse. Is a warehouse just a box come in and it's stored there? That is not his business plan. His business plan, which he specifically told the board, was he gets many boxes in, that these different components come out of these boxes, get put into another box and then get shipped out. So there is a segment of a process going on of where something's coming out of boxes and going into another box to be shipped out.
And Bob and staff, I think, went and said that was considered a warehouse.
Right,
We
he had
don't
to
give a
declare
special
use.
permit. There's nothing in the use table for industrial activities. You choose a special permit for something under the industrial activities, whether it's light manufacturing, research and development, data processing, warehouse. Warehouse is a building for sorting, storage, or wholesale marketing of materials, merchandise, products, and equipment. And
So as long
and
as
he
legal
worked with
counsel and
Bob
Kathy
Federico.
Greenberg agree with the fact that that phrase of from industrial activities to a warehouse includes what his business was, which was there was going to be sorting and things taken out and put into another package. I don't know what other things he used to, whether he was going to clean items or stuff, but I think that was primarily his business plan, which was presented to us. If that encompasses what a warehouse is, then I guess you can, and they agree with you, then I would feel comfortable making that change.
But that's what they applied for. This was their application was for a warehouse. We didn't make this up ourselves. Wasn't that?
No,
in
I
our
understand
application?
that, but I want you to make sure that it's just not for storage.
Well,
That-
I don't,
Oh,
it doesn't,
it-
what they do with it at this point is irrelevant. They applied for a warehouse, a special permit for a warehouse use.
If I could offer, if the application included, or the presentation included some of the particulars that are being referenced, you could say for a warehouse, which will include the following, and then actually list them. And then you're just more specific. So that in case there are things that happen in the future that go outside what everyone understood to be the set of activities, we've documented what the proposed activities were. I think that would be a way to approach it from both sides.
That makes sense.
So Michelle, do you have suggested language for how you'd like to describe that? You kind of walked through it a little bit.
Well, I think Kathy has it on staff. It's on their business. It's on their plan on what they were going to do.
So Kathy, do you have something that describes a warehouse and what they do?
Well, I just pulled their application, and they originally, basis for this application is a permit for warehouse and if necessary, light manufacturing. And then in the decision, just in the next sentence, it talks about that the building contains a total of 6,000 square feet of office space. I need to say approximately of office space and 17,000 square feet of warehouse space. So, I mean, they themselves use the word warehouse. But then they do, and again, he says the proposed plan includes demolition of the existing structures and construction of a proposed warehouse building with enclosed office space.
So is there anything we could add that would alleviate Michelle's concern?
I'm just looking through some of his.
Do you want to add something that says and associated activities such as sorting and repacking, but not limited?
I mean, doesn't the warehouse definition cover?
Right.
I mean,
Associated warehouse.
Right. And we had a whole meeting on going back and forth, whether it was a warehouse or light manufacturing, and he went to Bob and they all agreed it was a warehouse.
Mhm.
A building for the sorting, storage, or wholesale marketing of materials, merchandise, products, or equipment. I mean, I think in a warehouse, people aren't going to stop him from packaging and repackaging. I think that's what happens in a warehouse.
Yep.
I think if we get too detailed about what he does inside the warehouse, it actually might hold him back more than allow, I don't know.
because then if it goes, well, then if the next person buys this property, does the special permit dictate that's what happens in the warehouse? I guess not. I don't know.
Right, he'd have to package and unpackage things.
Would not have to, but would be permitted to, I think. I was just suggesting that you can describe it in a way that says that certain activities are included and are therefore within that umbrella term. But since I don't have the particulars of what was described, I don't think I could say anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand what both Michelle and Amy are saying, but in his application, he refers to warehouse building with office space, warehouse building, enclosed office space. So in his application, which is where I take the information from, there isn't anything more descriptive.
Am I still sharing? It looks like my screen sharing is paused. Can you see this still?
I see it. I don't try to move it. And that's frozen.
Oh, so weird. Okay, there we go. Now can you see?
Yep.
Oh, that worked. Okay. All right. So it doesn't seem like there's much else we can say about this that's not already here or covered by the definition, unless somebody thinks there's something not covered by what's here in the definition. Okay. Am I pushing forward? There's nothing on the next few pages. until page 6. Okay, any comments here, Amy?
Yeah, we used it on others. The subject property directs Northborough Residential C zoning district on the west. I just wanted to make sure it's west, north, south, and east. I looked on the map. But if Kathy can just verify it.
What was that?
Number 4, the subject property directly abuts Northborough's residential C zoning district on the west and the industrial zoning district on the north, south, and east.
Yeah, I'll check those directions.
Yeah. And the next one I got confused where you have the size of the building and then it said plus loading dock area containing 6,000 square feet. I thought it meant the loading dock, which was 6,000 square feet. So I thought it made more sense just to take it off of there and just put it at the bottom. The warehouse includes 1 loading dock.
Are you talking on number 5?
Number 5, yep. It should be in the one I sent today, I think.
I don't have. Yes, yeah, I don't have I didn't see that, Amy, before the meeting. So you want to take out?
Yep. And it should be, if you open up your emails, it should be right there if you want to pull it up. But it says, I took out plus loading dock area because when I read it, it says plus loading dock area containing a total of 6,000 square feet of office space. So to me, the sentence didn't go smoothly. So I just took out plus loading dock area and then added a sentence at the end that says the warehouse includes 1 loading dock. I tried different ways to make the sentence work, but it was just a lot in one sentence.
All right, the one, then that reference is going to be to the 20,000 square feet.
Yep.
Okay, so I have this, Amy, you sent this to me. Yep, okay.
Yep, I sent it to you at like 5:15. I sent it to you and Attorney Tedeschi and Carrie. I thought in number 7, we should say who the access drives have been verified by, like were the access drives verified by the town engineer, the police, or the fire, just because they weren't verified by the planning board. I just thought number 7 should state who it was verified by.
Okay, so I'll just put staff.
And you might know. Yeah, I didn't know who verified it.
Yep.
And then in number 10, I think after the 703.050, there's a couple extra words that are in our bylaws, but I don't think they need to be added in the. I think we could take that little part out. Just say a special permit with site plan approval per section 703.050 is required for any use requiring a special permit. It was confusing where it says administration and enforcement site plans. You see that? I think that's just from the bylaw book.
Okay. Any questions so far on any of these? Okay.
All right, I just want to see what I wrote. Specific findings. Oh, because where we wrote the board finds that the special permit application adheres to the above criteria. I was wondering if instead of saying the above criteria, which is findings of fact, do we have to say it adheres to the applicable law and decision criteria, which is 2 above? like right above the specific findings is the findings of fact.
It's not that literal.
And then who,
Above just means it's before the section.
so it could be anywhere above.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if they would read it and say, would it adhere to all those findings of facts above? But it's up to you guys. If you don't think it should be like that, then we could go back to the way it was.
So this isn't, you didn't move this, you just added the note.
Nope, I didn't move it. Yep, so you can delete that note. And I added, instead of moving it, I thought maybe it should say it adheres to the above applicable law and decision criteria. But
I'm in favor of keeping it the way it was before.
as long as it, yeah, points to the right area. I didn't know if Mr. Janeski, if he thought it made sense. If he reads it and thinks it makes sense, then that's fine.
Does the order matter at all, Attorney Janeski, or can this cover anything above?
I would agree with Kathy's point that the above is a general term in this context.
Okay. Amy, does that sound okay with you?
Yep,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay.
So those parts will come out. Instead of with the following conditions, I added subject to the following conditions, because that's what it said on other decisions. And then Kathy's going to update it with the right, with the, you know, with the dates of the site plans.
Okay. I think the next few are in blue, so that must be me. Obviously, this edit about July 6th is incorrect, so I retract. What, June 1st, Kathy, or June 15th, did you say for this one? June 15th?
June 15th.
Okay, so that is not valid. I added to come back to the planning board for this one because that's what we discussed and wanted to occur in the event of changes. I added, we talked about keeping the loading dock clear of trash and any discards like the pallets or stuff like that. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear, specific to the loading dock. So I wanted to make sure also that there was we talked about making sure they were able to use their wall packs for security lighting. So I just added that to clarify so that it's not, I don't know if that's necessary because this is really about what's on the light poles, but I wasn't sure if we wanted to at least include something about those wall packs for some sort of security there. And then because we've seen how some decisions play out when it comes to signage, I wanted to be a little bit more specific about it, what we were expecting, so that we get what we had in mind or what we talked about with the applicant. This was from the plan that they had presented to us with the new driveway. And we'd also talked about giving instructions, although we couldn't dictate the Lyman Bartlett Street intersection, it's not under our purview, that we talked about just giving instructions to commercial drivers. We've used that before in past decisions. Any questions or comments on this section here? Oh, wait, Amy, this one's you, only X parking spaces.
Yeah, I didn't have the file in front of me, but I think originally they had 45 parking spaces and we took off 10. I was just hoping maybe Kathy could check and see how many parking spaces would be required.
Well,
Or we
required.
can just leave it off if there's no.
Yeah, because it's two different things, Amy. What's required by the bylaw versus what they're providing.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, the fact that, you know, that you're referencing the site plan, you know, throughout the decision, the site plan, let's just say for right now, the site plan says 45. And here you're specifically saying,
Yeah.
you know, the 10 are coming off. So I mean, I think that
Have 35.
So I think that makes the point. I don't think you have to add. And again, what's required versus what you ask them to take off might be two different things.
Okay. Yeah, 32 is required, right? And they're gonna have 35. Okay, we can take,
I would need to open up the plan. I don't have the plan. I can certainly
Yeah.
double check that if you want me to.
nope, I was just gonna see if others thought we had to have how many parking spaces would be there, but we can take that off. That's fine.
So how do board members want to keep this or not keep this? What issue do you think might arise from this that you envisioned when you put this in here?
Well, actually, up on top, I think it says 32 parking spaces will be required.
Okay. So this is no longer.
So now it's like 35 or 36 are gonna be on the plan, I guess.
It's not necessary because in the back, we're just talking about the back of the building, which had some open pavement. And the board asked, will there any be parking going on there? And we said, no. He said, no, I
Right.
will not have any parking. We said, good, just don't stripe it. I don't remember telling them to paint no parking on there. However, I don't have an objection to it. So I think it's unnecessary to put that language in there.
Okay. Are you opposed to removing it, Amy, if it's in there elsewhere or?
No, you can take that out.
Okay. Okay, are there any other comments or questions? Oh, I think that was the end. That's it. Okay, any other board members have edits or proposed amendments?
Harry, can I just ask a general question to Mr. Dineski?
Of course.
Now that, the town hall is, back open to the public and it's easier for people to come in here, should the decisions, and I don't know if this is a should or a shall, what we had done during COVID was we just had the chairman come in and sign the decision. Should all the board members be listed, or is it okay to continue with the chairman signing?
I think it varies across the board, so as long as the board authorizes the chair alone to sign, that's fine for the hard copy, or if you want to have everyone sign, it's really the board's preference.
Okay.
But whatever it is, that if it's not everybody, there should be on record some vote of the board authorizing just the chair.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, so how does the board feel about that? Do you want me to continue to sign, or does everybody want to sign? It honestly makes no difference to me.
I'm comfortable with you just signing.
Does anyone else want to be involved with signing, or you want me to sign?
I'm only comfortable if I see the final draft and all the approvals.
Yeah, I think the board would always see the final copy of anything that we sign. I can't think of an instance where that's not the case.
Yeah, and I can send these, I'll make these edits. I know Carrie was editing as we went along. I was. So I'll get the final documents together for both these decisions tomorrow and send them out to everybody.
Okay, so is there, Millie and Amy, are you okay with that, or do you want to sign as well?
Fine either way.
Okay, so is there a motion to authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the board, planning board decisions? Assuming that the
So
board
moved.
has a copy?
So, yeah, so I would just clarify and just say the board members have to be submitted final copies. And unless there's no board members who make any edits, then you can then go ahead and sign. Because right now we did a lot of last minute edits. And I just want to make sure there's no more edits that go on that the
Yeah,
other board members aren't aware of.
That makes sense. So the motion is to authorize the chair to sign decisions on behalf of the board under the condition that the board has received a final copy of the decision document. So is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Michelle,
I agree.
Millie,
Agree.
Amy,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
and Carrie's an aye. Okay, so I'll be visiting town hall a few times this week, or this one actually isn't due. This one's due on the 30th.
Right, I'll take care of them both at the same time, and plus I have a couple A&Rs to review with you tonight, so.
Okay. Okay, great. So Attorney Janeski, thank you for staying on as long as you have. And we are moving on to additional old business that you certainly don't have to sit through if you want to. Back
You're
your-
welcome. Good evening, everyone.
Okay,
Good
thank you.
evening.
Bye.
Okay, I'd like to actually move forward to the appointments to the Earthwork Board and Design Review Committee. And I just need a minute to reshift my materials here.
Mhm.
Okay, so first in looking at earthworks, it's been, let's see, we last talked about this on July 6th. So I did take some notes and hopefully with a discussion, we can have some good deliberation over it. So for the Earthworks Board candidates, we had William Pierce and Christopher DeCitis come in. I don't know if anyone wants a minute to pull up any of the applications or if you have notes. Does anyone need a minute to reconfigure? Actually, I do want to go back and pull up those applications. I think Kathy, you had sent a email that had all our planning board materials in one for July 6th. So if anybody's looking for it, I think that was great, Kathy. That was super helpful. But now I can't find it, of course. Let's see. Oops, here we go. Okay, for anyone who wants to pull up the applications, Kathy actually sent us an email on the June 29th with the subject line July 6th Planning Board meeting materials. And there you'll be able to find the applications for anyone who wants to pull them up to, if you haven't been able to refresh your memory in the interim or have your notes ready or whatever the case. Let's see. Okay, so why don't we talk about what I think we could do to get started is maybe talk about each candidate or the candidates and then decide on what would be the right appointment based on what we need for that committee and what we discussed and learned from the candidate. So I don't know if anyone wants to start with some initial feedback on the first two candidates for earthwork.
I can start with Bill Pierce. I had looked over his resume and his application, obviously listened to the interview, and I thought he had some really good points to bring to earthwork. He's been in town for 5 or 6 years. I think that's a good amount of time to begin to really understand some of what he might be getting into and how the town operates. I think he came with a good knowledge of some of the roles and responsibilities of what he would be doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Other thoughts?
So I think both Mr. Pierce and Mr. DeCitis have great backgrounds, but both will be qualified to sit on that board. Having sat on that board for, I think, 9 years, I do think that Mr. DeCitis, with his professional background, would be a very fitting as just additional oversight for earthworks. And so while I think either would be great candidates, would serve really well, I just think with Mr. DeCitis and his background, technical expertise, would be a little bit better suited for this role.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
I agree with that. I think they both would be great candidates, but I think having a civil engineering degree helps, and it would be great to have that expertise on the board too. But I think they would both be great. And I thank them both for coming forward and applying.
Okay, Michelle, any thoughts from you to add on this?
I actually agree that both candidates I agree with Millie, what she said about first candidate has a lot of experience in town boards. So he comes with already having worked on other boards before where the other candidate does not. yet the other candidate has more expert in the field. So I both think they're excellent candidates. I want to thank both of them for coming forward. And I think whichever you choose, whichever the board goes with, I both think they'll be excellent candidates. One has more board experience, so they're used to the procedures that go along with the boards. The other one has more experience just related to in the field of civil engineering. So, you know, it's a good board to start with. He's new on it, so he'll obviously learn if he's chosen.
Yeah, I agree with that, Michelle. I thought it would almost be perfect if we could combine them into one, because I really thought that Bill was really strong with his experience, his in terms of being on other boards, his number of years in the town. In general, I liked his presentation. He was just very professional, had a really calm demeanor, which I think can go well just in working with people in general. He'd been on the NEDP board and different things like that. And obviously he did a great job in his understanding of the role. I thought when we asked him that, he had done some due diligence and taking a look at what it entailed, and just took a look at what the requirements would be. And, you know, both candidates indicated that they'd be available to serve and had the time and all of that. So I thought that was pretty even. For Chris, I liked, he gave that example with just working with the city of Medford and talked about reading and designing plans. Originally, when I saw his application, I noticed that he hadn't been in town very long. So, you know, I wondered, you know, how did he even, I think it was a board member asked that, like, how did you even find out about this? You're so new. It's hard to know right away how to get involved. And you know, it was great to see, even though he hasn't been here long, he really kind of took that initiative to figure out how to get involved, which I thought was really great. And, you know, trying to support people getting involved in town government. I like that aspect of it. Let's see. He did mention it as a possible, you know, to some extent it's a learning opportunity, but I think that went both ways. It's a learning opportunity for, you know, the board too, just to have that engineer expertise that he had. And I think he mentioned some experience with Mass Dot. I'm trying to see if he put that in his application or if he mentioned that during, he walked through a little bit of an example, which I thought was great that he did that. Again, I agree with the board. They're both great candidates. It was nice to see to have such a great selection. And I also thank the candidates that both applied. I don't know, I think it sounds like in listening to the board that Chris may be who the board thinks may be the better appointee. I don't know if their thoughts on, if that's something we want to talk about more, if we want to make a motion for the appointment. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm just interpreting what I've heard for sentiment.
Honestly, we have great candidates, so it's really going to be hard to decide which one has a better fit for this role. I think they're both exceptionally suitable and good examples of what we're looking for in this town.
I know. I think for me, the big real differentiator was just the engineering degree was the big differentiator that made the slight difference for me, but I don't know how other board members feel. Are board members thinking one way or the other, or thoughts?
Yeah, just like I've said, either candidate would be great. I just think it would, having served on that board, I think it would be great to have somebody who's got some real professional experience to be able to better understand the requirements, and certainly in setting bonds and what the work would be required to put something back together should a project go south.
Do you find that there are issues, Anthony? Just not to put you on the spot with your experience on the board, but where, you know, someone with that background would have been helpful at the time, or you wouldn't have even known to want that someone with that background?
I think, and I just think, you know, there's, you know, Fred really oversees a lot of the technical detail of that board. Mr. Beals has a lot of background as well. So there's other, but I think another set of eyes would be great.
So also, it's not uncommon for someone in his field to actually want to venture out to something locally that he's affiliated with. It's like an architect going on a design review. It's a natural fit, right? Sort of a natural fit for him. And coupled with what Anthony just said, there might be a situation where he might have been in a project in another community where he might say to Fred, I've seen this in another community, so not that it wouldn't be with the other candidate as well. I think the other candidate, has been on boards and understands how it works, but I think at this level of the board, I think he'll be fine.
Okay. And actually, Bill did give a good example too, and just with his experience with the Transit Authority. Originally, when I saw his application, I saw his area of expertise, having his degree in cybersecurity, but he made a good translation into how that fits into how that could be projected onto this type of role. But to your point, Michelle, that is valuable to have that direct experience to see like what's happening in other towns and how that might bring a different dimension to the board that we don't have.
So I'll just go ahead and make a motion that we appoint Mr. DeCius to the Earthworks Board.
Okay, is there a second for that appointment?
Second.
Okay, so the motion to appoint Christopher DeCius has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Millie? Oops, I couldn't hear you, Millie.
Aye.
Yep, I heard you say aye. Amy?
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
Michelle?
I
And Carrie's an aye. So that will be the appointment for there. Thank you to both candidates. Please continue to apply to town positions and get involved. Thank you for your interest. Next we have.
Carrie, can I just interrupt? I'm sorry. Just to keep every board appointment on the same schedule, mirroring what the Board of Selectmen do. This is a 3-year appointment, so do you want a different time frame? I mean, it's 3 years, but do you want it to be from August, or it would be retroactive to, not that we can travel back in time, but it'll be it'll be up as of April 2024.
I mean, my opinion is to keep it back to be consistent with the rest of the appointments in town. I don't know if the board feels differently. It just seems like an administrative nightmare to have that. Does anyone feel?
Don't we usually appoint after town meeting? Like, wouldn't it happen in May, or these appointments are before town meeting?
Well, what you all do with your board, other boards that you sit on, we do that after the election. But this isn't the schedule that the town follows isn't based on the election. It's just been for years that the appointments are from they run till the end of April. And then
All right, that sounds good.
Yeah, I agree that we should have consistency.
Okay. Do we need to edit or amend our motion to reflect the terms, Kathy? I didn't even think of that.
No, that's okay. I'll reflect it in the letter to send out.
Okay. Let me pull up. So next, why don't we talk about design review committee? So hold on a second. I'm going to pull that up. Okay, for design review committee, we have Tom Riordan, who's seeking reappointment, and Dario Demare, I think that's how you say it, Demare, who applied for the position. I'm just going to pull up those are also in the same email for any board members, except Tom's resume came within the same chain on July 6th for anybody who's pulling up the resumes if you need to refresh your memory at all. Okay, so why don't we get started with just thoughts on the candidates, starting with one or the other, whichever makes sense. Any comments?
So I think, I think both candidates are qualified, obviously qualified. Mr. Reardon's been there for 19 years and has served this town well. And I think Mr. Domari certainly, running successful business with projects all over the country, I'm sure is equally qualified. I think, if I was pushed to the ledge and had to make a decision, and this is based on qualifications, but I've always felt that it's good to, refresh the boards, not over frequently, but, on some certain level to refresh a board. And I think it's good for people to, and I know Mr. Reardon sits on some other committees and there's other opportunities, but I think it's also good to get maybe a fresh perspective and just, a different perspective on all of the boards, and this being one of them. So I would be, if I was shoved to make a decision, I think I would go towards Mr. Demar.
You are being shoved to make a decision. Okay, thank you. That was helpful. Other comments or feedback?
I think I can echo some of the things that Anthony said. Mr. Reardon, having served for so many years and done a fantastic job and doing a fantastic job on multiple boards, there is an opportunity for new people to come in. And I think that that's something that we would like to encourage, especially if we get somebody who's very qualified and very suitable for that position. And I think that Mr. Domari is one of those candidates that we would like to see come forth in this town and bring new ideas. I think that he brought some fresh perspectives about talking about what really resonated with me as a front porch town and a back porch town. And I thought that that was a really nice way of saying, let's see what we can do to make this a more vibrant community in our downtown and in our town.
Okay. Other thoughts?
I would agree with Millie and with Anthony. They both had really great comments. And I do think it's great when you get a choice of two architects coming forth to a board. And but I do think that it's good to allow new people to serve on boards every now and then. So I think it's great that Mr. Demar stepped forward, and I would lean towards him also. I think they both had different ideas, but it's good to get a fresh perspective every now and then. And I agree with what Millie and Anthony said.
Okay, other thoughts? Michelle, do you want to add anything?
So I don't agree with the board on what they're saying about eliminating someone who has seniority on the board. You currently have very young people on the board right now. I'm not talking about age, I'm talking about time. So Tom would be the only person on the board who served for any extended period of time. Dave Veron and Diana are relatively new. Lisa is very new, and Amy is extremely new. So you don't go with that board with any history on it. I think it's a shame because I think Tom should be stay on the board, but obviously the board has already made a decision. With my regards to the other applicant, I agree with the committee members. I think he's a really talented architect. I mean, his resume is very glowing nationally, internationally. I think the difference between those two architects is that he is more of an institutional architect versus Tom Reardon's work you can see up and down Main Street, which this applicant has only done one person in town's garage. And that's all the work that he's done. So I think he comes from a very larger scale projects. Maybe that would help with, some of your concerns as a board when it comes to industrial. But he's very large and institutional projects when you look at a lot of his projects. But so that's why I'm still in favor of keeping Tom Reardon. And I don't agree with the other board members that you have to constantly take people who have seniority and experience off to give a fresh voice when you already have 4 fresh voices already on it.
Mhm.
2 of which are very new. Amy and Lisa are extremely new. Amy's new to the whole process and Lisa's only been on there for about a year.
Okay, that's good feedback. Other comments? I had some as well. I don't want to repeat whether, I think I had a lot of the same sentiments. I think obviously Tom has done great work. What I liked about Dario is I really liked that not just one component, but being involved with the master plan implementation committee. I think that connection to someone on design review to that overarching plan, like Millie, you talked about, the front porch, back porch, like that sort of revitalization. I think that connection to master plan implementation committee through design review really appealed to me. I think that it could really serve us well over the next few years. And that was probably one of my top reasons why I thought that would be helpful to the board. Obviously, he was well qualified. His resume, as Michelle mentioned, has national, international examples. It was obviously he has the experience. Let's see. I liked how he had his philosophy towards being on the team was very much like, using things as a learning experience, like going back and forth and trying to figure out, obviously we have our design guidelines, but if something doesn't fit, to try to get to the bottom of why, and, explaining both sides, like, well, here's why there's that guideline, how can we make this project fit? And I liked how he kind of walked through that and kind of demonstrated how his philosophy would be implemented in that way. And just had a really good demeanor about that I thought would be good for that committee. I think everyone, Tom obviously has the resume as well. And Michelle, you mentioned his work on going down Main Street. So that's obviously, he has quite an established resume as well. So, I mean, it's another situation where we have 2 well-qualified candidates. I think it's just a matter of, what that differentiator is. For me, one of the biggest ones was master plan implementation. It sounds like the board overall had, a set of reasons. I don't know if there's a motion or if we want to continue to discuss.
I actually thought Michelle brought up some good points, that the board is young and that they have vastly different design styles. So I'm a little more conflicted than maybe I was originally, but I still think that our candidates are really both very good choices.
Okay. All right, is there a motion for either candidate, or we can continue to discuss whatever the board likes to do?
I'll make a motion to appoint Dario Demar to Design Review Committee.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Any
You
further?
want to include the length of the term while?
Oh, yes, I'm making the same mistake twice. So to amend the motion to include the terms would be, I think it makes sense to also start the same terms. I guess it would be the 3-year term starting in April. Kathy, is that what? Yeah. So it'll be a 3-year term starting April. Okay, so that's the motion. It's been made and seconded. Any further debate? Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Anthony?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Millie?
Aye.
Michelle?
Yay.
And Carrie's an aye. Okay, so that is set. Next on our, thank you to everyone. Thank you to candidates for both boards. It was definitely a hard decision, and I guess that's a good thing. Next we
If I
have,
could just make a comment, Carrie.
yes.
It might be nice if the board sent a letter or a note to Tom Reardon, thanking him for all his years of service.
That's a good idea.
That should be done. It's an appropriate thing to do.
Okay. Did you want, working closely with him, is that something you want to draft as the former chair of the committee and worked with him the closest, or?
No, I'm sure you could draft it as chair.
Okay. If you have any points that you think should be included, just let me know. I just wouldn't know as well.
I just think it's important to recognize his years of service after what's been said over the past few weeks.
Sure. Yep. Okay, regarding the appointment, so I think that, speaking of what's transpired over the last few weeks, one thing that did occur, which I think I just want to briefly address, and we don't have to get into the details, is that I did receive a phone call early on before we, as we were embarking on this committee and the appointees and all of that. I did receive a phone call that indicated that, if Tom was not reappointed, then other members would leave the committee. And I was really disappointed to hear that attitude and mindset. So I hope that going forward with this committee that, they really are able to work together and be the productive group that they've been in the past, and that there's no, feelings of not wanting to work with people for whatever reason. This is a advisory committee that's important to the planning board, and really need to focus on the applications we have at hand, and not so much, trying to, dictate who's on the committee or who's not on the committee. So I hope that attitude and mindset is positive going forward. So I just wanted to briefly mention that. All right, let's see. Next we have, Kathy, is there anything you want to go over before we go through the minutes?
I have a couple of things that I just want to mention to you that to put on next month's, the next agenda. And then I have 3 A&Rs for you all to take a look at tonight. Very straightforward, but if you want to do those now or afterwards. And I also just want to verify, this is, restating a vote that you've already taken, but we just got the paperwork from, speaking of appointments, we just got the paperwork from the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. Every year they sent out, a standard letter at the beginning of the fiscal year about the reappointments or appointments as delegates. So there's one planning board member, as you know, there's one selectman's member, and then the selectmen choose an alternate. So I'm just assuming that I'm certainly going to fill that out, Carrie, you all voted, that's you remaining as the delegate, correct?
And did the Board of Selectmen vote on there?
I don't know if they have. I don't know if they, I think they did, Julianne,
Okay.
at one of their prior meetings. And if they didn't, they'll probably make it official at their next meeting, which is August 23rd.
Okay. Did they say if we have a third delegate? I know Michelle had expressed interest. Is there a third?
The selectmen appoint an alternate. So I honestly don't know who it's been in the past.
I don't think anybody.
I don't know if they've, but I can check on that if there is a planning board member that's interested in that.
Michelle, would you be interested in an alternate if that's an opportunity, or not necessarily?
So I want to discuss with the board something else while we're on talking on this subject. So at the last time we were doing the appointments, which I know the board had a lot on their plate, it was when Amy and you were appointed to your boards, and Anthony was appointed to groundwater. Millie was appointed to the community preservation. I was asked if I wanted to go on open space. Millie was asked if she wanted to go on open space and if I go on community preservation. Millie and I both did not know the night that open space met, and we tabled it to another meeting, which no one has been voted on for open space. Yet Anthony has attended open space meetings and voted on them on behalf of the planning board, which he was not an appointed member to go to open space meetings and vote on any items on behalf of the planning board.
Okay,
So
so my
we have-
understanding, oh, go
we-
ahead.
we have an issue where he was never appointed. It was left open. And it was left open because we were going to decide whether Millie could make it, because Millie asked the question, what night does open space meet? And we didn't know. And at that time, I was contemplating it. And then we moved forward to discuss it at the next meeting, which hasn't been. And it was brought to my attention by other people that they saw that Anthony had been attending open space meetings, but was never formally appointed by the board. I'll tell you, in all my years at the planning board, I have never seen anyone attend a meeting, vote on behalf of a planning board when they've never been appointed.
So
So
my
that was very
understanding-
concerning on my part.
Okay, so my understanding was that you stated you were going to get back to us. And in the interim, I think, Anthony, were you already the open space rep?
Yes.
So I feel like Anthony was continuing to. be the
No, that's not
representative.
the way it was. Anthony said, I can come off of open space and not do groundwater if Michelle wants it.
Okay, but I
Amy
think we were
said-
waiting for you.
Amy
to get
said,
back to us.
Amy said, no, I want him on groundwater. So Anthony said, fine, I'm not going to be on open space. I'm going to be on groundwater.
Okay, so
So-
Anthony, do you have any comments to that?
And I watched the meetings. I just wanted to make a note. And where the chair of the meeting even said, are you supposed to be on here? And he's like, well, we're sort of working it out. I just want to make a notation. I have never seen this, that somebody would go to another meeting who's not been appointed by the board and go vote on articles where they've not been appointed by the board.
But there
You
was
can
no.
go back and watch the video if you want.
Okay, Anthony, my understanding was different, I guess, but does anyone have comments on that?
Yeah,
I think
the
it's
way
great
I
that
recall that
Anthony
meeting.
stayed on open space.
Oh, go ahead, Anthony.
The way I recall it is it was offered to Michelle. Michelle says, I'll get back to you. The meeting was due. I figured somebody should attend. I'm sitting on open space. So, I mean, I think you're making a point out of nothing here. Somebody from planning board should have been there. So I took the initiative to do that.
So also Millie was considering being on open space as well, but did not know the night. I guess my question is why would you attend
Well,
two
look,
meetings without discussing?
It's advertised. Somebody could have reached out to the chair of any of the boards and said something. Believe me, I had other things to do on these nights as well. I mean,
But I don't understand why you would go to a meeting that you're not even appointed for.
you're
but
making an issue out of nothing.
No, it's like, it's not disclosed. I mean, you were never appointed to that board. You went and voted things for the planning board. You haven't even brought up what you voted on the planning board and you were never appointed there. You just took it upon yourself to go.
I'm just
So
gonna-
go back, the board can go back.
I'm not
and watch-
gonna argue with you.
I know
You're
you're
the
not.
one, you are the one that said, I'll get back to you.
Yes,
And did you
So
get
was
back to
Millie.
anybody?
Millie said she'd get back.
Did Millie raise her hand and say, I need to go?
Because
to
we
that?
weren't
Did
discussing.
anybody go
meeting.
to
All
the
right,
website
okay.
and see when the meeting was gonna be?
It was inappropriate what you did,
Okay,
Anthony.
so
Disagree.
Michelle.
I personally
At
wanna
the
thank-
very least appointed and
Michelle.
notified the board.
Michelle, you need to. Anthony doesn't feel that way. I don't know if any other board members feel that way. My recollection was you said, I'll get back to you. You didn't get back to anybody. If Millie was interested, Millie, I missed that. Didn't expect to hear back from you. If you intended to be on the committee, then I guess that's another issue. But in the meantime, Anthony continued in his role on open space to continue our participation. If you wanted to be on it, nobody reached out to me. I think it's on you. If you say I'll have to think about it, is what you said.
I did, because we were waiting for the timing.
Well, did you think about it and come back to us? I didn't get any message from you.
It's not, Carrie, this is your role as a chair. This has been
Michelle,
open.
Michelle.
And I'm just telling you, all of my years in the planning board, I have never seen someone go out and go to a meeting not appointed. I'm just making a note of it. I'd like to just be on the minutes. Now that I know it's on Monday nights, I'm happy to be appointed by the planning board for the open space committee. But I was surprised, and so weren't some other people surprised when Anthony said, I'd rather be on, I'm going to stay on and I'm not going to be on open space and then show up at meetings, not discuss it with the planning board. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. I disagree. I don't know if other board members agree. I don't recall it that way. I don't know if other board members, Amy, do you have anything to add?
I'd like to thank Anthony for spending his spare time going to open space while we were trying to let Michelle decide what she wanted to do. I think, we're all very busy in life and with kids, and to take on 2 or 3 boards is a lot of work. So I commend Anthony for continuing his role in the open space until we have the seat filled. There's nothing in any code bylaw that says what he did was wrong. So I'm surprised that Michelle isn't thanking him, that she's upset when she did not get back to the board and she truthfully acted like she didn't even want it.
Well, that's not true, Amy. And both, if you go back and watch the minutes, which you're known to watch all those videos, you will see that both Millie and I both asked questions about when does the board meet so we can make a decision. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to drag it out any further. I was surprised, and I just want to go on record for it.
I'm surprised now.
If there, in lieu of anybody being appointed in his place, I view Anthony as still the appointed planning board member. I don't know of why all of a sudden he would not be if no one else is appointed in that spot. He was just continuing on that role. I guess we disagree on that. Millie, are you interested in open space, or do you have a sentiment you want to share?
My concern was still that I am on a number of different meetings and committee boards, and that the nights that it was going to be meeting would have been difficult for me to commit to. So I didn't respond or reply, and maybe I should have left that less vague, but I was just not sure.
Okay, so any other thoughts on this? Okay, so Michelle, are you interested in open space?
Yes, because the committee now has to vote on it. You have minutes coming up on June 1st. It says to be determined. No one's been appointed to the open space committee. Yes.
Okay, Anthony, are you still interested in open space?
Actually, there's a meeting tomorrow night. And I had a conflict. I don't know if I was going to be able to attend, but I was told that I may be a part of needing to be there to provide quorum. So no, I'm happy with serving on another board. I like open space, but I'm happy to allow somebody else the opportunity to sit.
Okay, so Michelle, it sounds like you've thought about it and you are, oh, go ahead. Did I cut you off?
No.
Oh, okay, I thought I heard you say. Okay, so it sounds like, Michelle, you are interested in open space. Are you able to attend tomorrow evening?
I am.
Okay, are there any other thoughts on appointments for open space? Okay, is there a motion then to appoint Michelle to open space?
I make a motion to appoint Michelle Gillespie for open space.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
I just have a quick question. And I just want to ask Anthony, because there was a time when, you were concerned between groundwater and open space. Would you rather have open space than groundwater? I'm just throwing it out there. I hate to confuse everything at the last minute, but it's really, there were 2 boards up for discussion, and I don't know.
I think open space.
Which would be your choice?
Sorry. I think I've been on open space for a while, and I think it would be good to have to work on another board. So I think I'm ready to go groundwater.
You're okay on groundwater?
Does Polly have something to add? Okay. Okay, so there has been a motion on the floor to appoint Michelle to open space. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made. and seconded. All in favor, Millie,
I,
Amy,
Aye.
Michelle,
Uh,
Anthony? Oh, Anthony, I can't hear you. Is that an aye or? Sorry, Anthony, I couldn't hear you. Well, Polly keeps barking. Is that an aye? Okay, and Carrie's an aye. Okay, so Michelle, you are now the representative for open space, and there's a meeting tomorrow. So Anthony, if you have any details that you can forward over to Michelle, then that would probably be helpful to get her up to speed on that. Anthony, thank you for covering in that period where we didn't have covered at all. I certainly appreciate it and disappointed in that kind of reaction. But anyway, thank you. Okay, let's see. We also, oh, Kathy, getting back to your question, is that all set for CMRPC?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, and then you have A&Rs.
I do. So hang on one second. Okay, so this, can everyone see that?
Not really.
Um,
I can see it like the shapes of the plot. Oh, there you go.
Well, it's, I'll move it around, but basically, I'll start over here. Okay, so this is an A&R that is submitted by the DuPont family. What, I need to go a little smaller, Carrie,
That's okay. That's okay.
and then I can go bigger. So this is the property. Oh, I don't know why that's in a bubble. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is, you know, one property, and what they're doing is dividing it out. So they're creating, you know, there's an existing house down here on Crawford Street. So they're taking that as an A&R, and all this back property is they are separating that off of their lot and labeling it as a not to be considered a buildable lot. I don't know what the future plans are. I don't know if they're looking to combine it with someone else's property, but you know, there's no explanation that's required on an A&R as far as what you're going to do with your excess property. So again, I can make it a little bit bigger if you want. So again, this is this and this, you know, right now are the same lot, but they want to subdivide, not subdivide out. They want to do this as an A&R lot, and it meets the, you know, the frontage and the square footage, and then take the rear portion and just label it as not to be considered a building lot, which we, you know, have found out over the years that that's legit for somebody to do that.
Okay.
has no road frontage, is that correct?
This parcel B does not have any frontage.
Okay.
Okay, everyone okay with that one? Okay,
And it doesn't need frontage either.
the property that's not to be considered a buildable lot, correct?
Does not need frontage. Okay.
Yeah. So the oops, nope, that's not it. Hang on one sec. Oh, I think I just wiped out those A&Rs. Okay, hang on one sec. If you'll bear with me. The other two A&Rs that, like I said, I just closed them all out. But the other two that I'm about to show you, both are connected to okay, just one second. Both of these are connected to 121 Ball Street, which is the piece of property that the town, decided not to purchase. It was one of the 61A properties. So so this is one of the A&R lots, but both of these lots could have been shown on the same A&R, but the person that is purchasing this property wants a completely separate A&R that's just identifies their parcel. So this first A&R is all about this lot 1. This is the existing 121 Ball Street where Cynthia Fawcett presently lives, continues to live. This was a part of her property, but this is what was divided off to then be presented to the town. We had the right of first refusal. The town opted not to purchase the property. So Cynthia Fawcett's property is right here. So that's one A&R. And then the second A&R is this A&R. And again, this is Cynthia's property, but on this particular A&R, it doesn't have the meets and bounds, but this particular lot does. So this is the second separate A&R, even though they're both, next to each other, and it could have been on one plan, but this is how the owner and the future owner, chose to do it, and it's perfectly legit. So that's why there's two for this, for what's called 121. And I'm not sure what the address is going to be for this. The assessors, once they receive this A&R, they will then assign an address to it. So again, adjacent to each other, but done as two separate A&Rs.
Okay,
So
and when are these due?
A&Rs are within 21 days of them being filed. And let's see, the Fawcett A&R was filed on July 21st. And the same thing with the Crawford Street.
Okay, so that puts them at,
I didn't count out 21 days, but let me do that real quick.
oh, so the 11th, it looks like 21 business days.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, the 11th.
Okay. Okay, so do we need to take a vote on each one? And
Yep.
then,
Yes, please. Yep.
all right, any questions on the Ball Street? Okay, either Ball Street one? Okay. All right, so why don't we open up, do you mind opening up the original one?
Well, this is what happened before. Hang on, Carrie.
Oh, that's okay. If you know them, but if the board doesn't need to see them again, we just. know them.
Okay. Okay, so this is Cynthia Fawcett's. That was the first one.
Mm.
And then the second one was the one I just had up, which is this.
Okay, so we'll go, and for the purpose of the motion, should we call them Ball Street A and B or 1 and 2?
Lot 1 and lot 2.
Lot 1 and lot 2. Okay, so is there a motion to accept the Ball Street A and R lot 1?
Make a motion to accept the Ball Street A&R Lot 1.
Okay, second.
Second.
All right, all in favor, Millie,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anthony? Oh, Anthony, I can't hear you.
Aye.
Aye, and Michelle?
Aye.
And Carrie's an aye. Okay, and then we have Ball Street Lot 2. Is there a motion to approve the A&R for Ball Street Lot 2?
I make a motion to approve Ball Street Lot 2. A&R.
A&R Lot 2. Okay, second.
Second.
All in favor, Millie,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Carrie's an aye. Okay, and then finally, we have,
This is the one for Crawford Street.
Crawford Street. Okay, is there a motion to approve the A&R for Crawford Street?
I make a motion to approve the A&R for Crawford.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, Millie? Millie, is that an aye?
Yes.
Amy?
Aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
Michelle?
I,
And Carrie's an aye.
Okay, and then just before you do your minutes, the only other thing I wanted, I'm going to put both of these on the next agenda, but I think it was either yesterday or today, I sent everybody out we received 2 purchase and sale agreements for 429 Whitney Street and 432 Whitney Street. So both of those properties are under 61A, just as this property, Ball Street was formerly. So the 2 properties on Whitney Street owned by Santa Anzo are both under agreement. So that's obviously what kicks off the town's right of first refusal. The selectmen will be voting on this at their August 23rd meeting. Open Space Committee had expressed interest. It had expressed no interest, if I'm saying that properly, Anthony, at a meeting that I wasn't at, where they nobody wanted to pursue 429, and then 432 at the last Open Space Committee meeting, which I did attend, to make some presentations with Mia McDonald, our conservation agent, on 432, because the Open Space Committee had requested that the town, conduct an appraisal of the property to see if they, what the purchase price would be based on the appraisal, what the appraisal would be. And that was conducted, and the Open Space Committee then voted at their last meeting not to pursue the purchase of 432. So the planning board is one of the 4 boards that, officially receives notice of the purchase and sales. So you can, I didn't expect you to do that tonight because you just received the information. So I was just going to put that under, old and new business, just as we had done with Ball Street, for your next agenda, which is on August 17th. The second thing I wanted to just mention was people may or may not be familiar with this legislation. And the reason why I just chuckled to myself was, I don't expect anyone to be following what's going on with the House and the Senate, but the governor recently passed what's called a Housing Choice Act. And part of it is, it affects MBTA communities. Northborough is considered an MBTA community because we abut a community that has a rail station, which is Westborough. And so the state is requiring, and that, and it's a carrot and stick approach, that if in order for the town to qualify or to be eligible for certain grant programs, the town needs to comply with the Housing Choice Bill. And I'll send you, information between now and next meeting. But the biggest piece to come out of the Housing Choice legislation is that MBTA communities are now being required to have some sort of multifamily zoning allowed by right, and it needs to be in one zone. And the Department of Housing and Community Development are developing guidelines right now for communities to follow. So if the communities want to participate in these particular grant programs, then the community needs to have this multifamily zoning. So that is something that, like I said, I'll provide information to you. It's the governor signed the legislation. It's in effect, but the guidelines are being proposed, are being developed by the Department of Housing and Community Development. I anticipate that all of the regional planning commissions will probably be, targeting this as far as, information sharing, getting it out to their communities, on a regional basis. And, I'll, again, for your next meeting, nothing for you to decide for your next meeting, but if it is something that the town is interested in, our timing for, the upcoming town meeting, could work. It would work if we wanted to, but we're right in time to prepare, some sort of bylaw if the planning board wants to go forward with this. So everyone's got a lot more questions than there are answers for right now. And again, I'll be sending you some information between, now and the next meeting.
Okay.
And then the third thing I wanted to mention is if it hasn't gone out yet from me, it'll be going out tomorrow. There's several emails in my queue, but I have an email that's going out to the master plan implementation committee. And what I'm would like to schedule first is a, for lack of a better word right now, I'm going to call it like a meet and greet, so that all of the members can meet each other for the first time. And, I envision, the meeting being, half an hour to, an hour, where for the committee members to introduce themselves, talk about, why it is that they wanted to be on the committee, just an initial kickoff meeting. Briefly talk about and explain, how this came about through the master plan process, and then the implementation chapter, and then, everyone will go home with homework to look at the implementation chapters, start to rank what they think are their priorities, and then we'll get back together at some, within a 3-4 weeks time, and then get on a regular schedule, probably a monthly schedule. So the meetings, the dates that I threw out right now are, and this is all based on being able to get, a Zoom host and, my meeting schedule so far. And I'll, let everyone know what date we come up with. But the dates that I put together in the email so far are August 26th, September 8th, or September 9th. So I'll see what, how it's 13 people. It's always a little difficult to sort of get that schedule going because, you're managing, a minimum of 13 schedules. But anyways, so I just wanted to bring you up to date on those three.
Just a quick question. Does the Housing Act or include the bylaw, the law for zoning to pass by 50% instead of 2/3 as well, or is that something different?
Yes, yeah, no, that's all part of it, Carrie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Amy, did
So
you?
I'll send you, the bill itself, of course, like anything, if you go to print it out, it's, 1.5 inches thick. But, the state has provided, summary sheets and, they're putting together like a frequently asked question document. But so again, we'll all have more questions than answers at this point, but.
Okay, Amy, you had something?
Yeah, I just, if you're done with the multifamily, I just had a question about the master plan. I don't know how other people would think on the master plan, maybe we could send it out, but I was wondering if the meet and greet's only like a half an hour. Could it be at the library? I'm just thinking like a meet and greet for something like a master plan would just be so much more personal if it was in person versus, on a Zoom. And maybe that's just me. I like the master plan meetings. We're always in person. I don't mind going back to Zoom, but I was wondering if the meet and greet could be in person, whether the big room of the library or even at the town common outside. I don't know, but maybe others want to do it with Zoom. That was my one.
Yep, I can add it to if my email hasn't gone out yet, Amy, like I said, I don't know. I had several that are in the queue to go out. So if it hasn't gone out, I can add it to the email. Otherwise I can just send out a second email asking people.
Yeah, maybe people feel differently. I just feel like it's neat to like get to know people.
We can't do it outside because we can't conduct town meetings outside. There's they have to be, recorded and,
Oh, okay.
all of that jazz. But the, and obviously, just like everybody else, one of the things we're watching is what's going to be happening, with COVID. So,
Yeah.
with the variant. So what
Right.
we have to do with that. So, but yeah, that's, yep.
So maybe it is better to hold it inside. I don't know, because the numbers probably are going up now. I was just curious. And another thing I wanted to ask about the master plan was it was mentioned that the consultants had been hired. Do you know what the purview of the consultants is?
Yep, nobody's been hired yet. So, but we're, I've been working with VHB on putting together a meeting schedule, and basically they would just be, assisting, kind of going in the next step from the master plan, assisting the implementation committee in, reviewing the chapter and all of the goals. And then, helping the community, helping the committee, work through that, and then outlining a schedule as to, what our top, 3 to 5 goals are. And then, again, it's all outlined in the implementation chapter, but, now we're going to get into the nitty gritty of what's the first project that the implementation committee believes should be worked on. Should it only be one project? Should we be working on, 3 at the same time, or 5 at the same time, and then also if they involve capital expenditures, helping us prepare capital expenditures for those. Capital, capital, what is it? CIP, capital improvement program.
Investment, I don't know, I'm guessing. So, okay. I was just wondering, because it was never talked about during the master plan that we're gonna hire them, but I saw that it was like about $10,000 was put in the budget when I looked at, when they were getting ready for town meeting. Well, I was just curious where the money came from and how much money there is. I was trying to look it up because I emailed you, Jason, and John, and asked about the budget and where we got the money. So I tried to look back and see where it came from.
Yeah, so like I said, no one, the contract hasn't been signed yet, but it's in the town administrator's office right now. And in the planning department budget, there's consulting money. So money is being, or was encumbered from last year in anticipation of this, a couple of weeks ago. And then money that's been allocated in the planning, department budget for consulting will be used to pay for it also. So it's all coming out of a consulting line item.
Okay. All right. And I just had one more question, but it has to do with the Anza property. Are we gonna, did you say we're gonna talk about it next meeting?
Yes, I just
Or if I
sent
have a
that
question, should I ask
information. Oh, I'm sorry, I got wicked feedback on my end. I just sent you all those 2 purchase and sales. Like I said, I can't remember if they went out yesterday or today. So I didn't anticipate that anyone would be looking at those for tonight's meeting. So it'll be on your next agenda.
Okay, I have a quick question and you don't have to answer it tonight, but just for maybe next meeting. Because I was on open space before too. And I know we talked about 61As and 61Bs and the town has right of first refusal, but also isn't there something where the town gets like 5 years back taxes when they change from farm to industrial? There's something to do with tax.
It's called rollback taxes, and I'm not sure. I'll ask the assessors how that exactly works. It all depends on how long you've been in the program as to whether or not you pay rollback taxes. So, so that I'll check with the, with the assessors about that.
Yeah, I was just curious. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are down to minutes. Why don't we start to get through these, starting with May 18th. Did everyone have a chance to read the May 18th minutes?
Just have to pull them up. I did have changes to some of them.
Okay. I had some changes to these minutes as well, and just general feedback here, but okay, do you want to?
I just want to let
You can
everybody
start, 'cause
know.
I'm
Can I just let everybody know I can no longer do video. I would have to leave the meeting, come back on, because every time I try to start my video, it won't start up, so I'd have to reboot again. So you're
Okay.
just gonna see my lovely face up there, and I'm on audio as well,
Okay.
okay?
All right. So are you able to follow along with the minutes on your end so you can see what Amy's talking about in
I
case?
can.
Okay.
I can see, but you can't see me because I've tried to start the video. It
Okay.
does not work.
Okay. All right. So Amy, do you want to, I'll just, if you're
You can
changing.
go through yours first because I'm pulling mine out.
Okay. So on 518, one thing that was difficult for me, and maybe this is something I can figure out for all the minutes, is I know that Melanie uses a transcript, or it seems that Melanie uses a transcript to help her to formulate the minutes. But sometimes it's hard to, like, the sentences don't make sense anymore, or something happens, or it just doesn't translate well. So I tried to point out as many of those as I could to try to fix them, but in some cases I actually couldn't fix it because either I just really didn't know what it was getting at, or it required like actually going back and going through the video. So I don't know if it's possible, like, I know we talked before about this is pretty labor intensive, so I don't want to exacerbate that, but I also want to make sure that, you know, it's the way the transcription pulls makes it hard. So maybe we don't have to like transcribe every he said, she said, if it's not making sense. I don't know. I don't know if other board members struggle with that. Some minutes are worse than others. This one in particular, I had that problem. Did anyone else have that issue?
I did, and I did these so long ago, but I know I was going through maybe the 15th, and yeah, and some sentences just didn't make sense, and it took a lot of time to try to go back and figure out what it was supposed to say. But
So
I just
in some cases, I
don't
tried
have the
to
time.
and in some cases, if we can't figure it out, then I think we maybe just delete it. So I'll go through, maybe it'll be helpful to actually see what I'm talking about. And then that may put it better into context. Okay, 518. Okay, do you see an edit here? She asked whether. Okay, so one thing that happens in the transcription is it has things like sentences like this one was, does the location change impacted groundwater, question mark. But there's no like, that was actually a question I asked, not really related to Mr. Turner making comments. It was just like, it must have been the way the transcription did it. So I believe that was me, I attributed it to me, but that happens a lot with the transcription where there are questions versus like, somebody said something or somebody asked a question. So you'd never really know who the question, I happen to know because it's me, but in other instances, you don't always know.
Right.
Okay, this one didn't make sense. I think I said this doesn't make sense. Oh, how did it fit into context? It really didn't make sense here. So I didn't fix this one. They're the experts on dose. I didn't know what that really meant. Whatever the machines do is one thing, what they generate is where they come from and for safety and what needs to be done to protect people. I didn't understand this whole section. I don't know if the board's comfortable with deleting it, or I didn't really have time to look it up and fix it. Does anybody know what this was, or?
Hold on. I think what that gentleman was saying was that the machines were generated for safety and to protect people. I don't maybe where he says they are experts on dose, you'd have to go back and listen to the video on that. But he does talk about that the machines generate safety to protect people, like a peace of mind is what he's saying.
Okay, so how about, what if we put just that? Like, I would agree with that recollection of it.
Like, I agree with you. I don't know what dose means.
So Michelle, does anyone object to making that kind of edit? Because he did say something to this effect. I just don't know what this is talking about. So Mr. Cardelli said the machines are, I don't know. Mr. Zeitun asked how much energy or amps the electronic accelerators use when activated. Mr. Cardelli said, I don't know how to fix this. I don't know.
Right. I don't know how to fix that. I
Why
got
don't you
stuck
just
on
say
some
that
too.
Mr. Cardelli said what they generate is where they come from is for safety and what needs to be done to protect people. So basically he was saying it was for peace of mind and for safety and protection.
When they said where they come in is what is their role? That's their role is in for safety and what needs to be done.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so does that make sense to everybody?
No, I think.
No.
No, I was asking how much energy do these accelerators use? As in watts, amps, energy. And so the rest of that I don't even understand what follows that question.
I think someone would have to go back and listen to that one
Okay,
because it doesn't make sense in the role for safety either. Is it the machine has a role for safety?
So with what Anthony just said, Mr. Cardella was probably saying it depends on the dose, the amount of it. But then he went in to talk about, because you can read the following paragraph about, he commented about, children are susceptible. It's a form of, these devices are a form of establishing if the levels are high and they're there to protect people. So you'd have to go back, but I'm assuming what the dose means is what Anthony just said was he was asking him what levels they were at.
okay, so I'm gonna go back to what was there.
Can we
Okay.
ask Melanie to go back to that one sentence, or is someone going to do that?
All right, so either we strike or it needs to be verified. I'm just gonna put that.
If I can interject here, there are only so many hours that are allocated to the planning board in order to do these minutes. And I've increased them over the past year, and it's still not enough to cover these 4 or 5 hour meetings. So I don't have the time for Melanie to go back to any of to listen to any more tapes. I mean, as it is, she listens to these, she's on the meeting tonight, and then she will probably go through the recording at least 2 more times to do the minutes. And it's just not feasible there's just not time.
So if I can jump in. So if I recall correctly, the question I asked was how much electricity these things use, and he did not have the answer as I recall. So I think there's 2 threads of something going on here. And I don't know if we just, because nobody has the time, do we just take it out? I don't know.
All right, does someone want to review it or delete it? Do we delete it?
Well, and also too, if you remember what town council said tonight, is that, these minutes are not used in court. I think that the level of detail that is being required in these minutes is just something that is just something that we haven't done in the past, and the time that it's taking to do this level of detail.
I don't think we need this level of detail. I mean, I know we've discussed this. This has been a source of discussion for a while. I think if it's a public hearing, specifically our big ones, we wanted more detail than usual, but we don't have to go to this, like, she said this, he said that. It could be more of I don't know. It's hard to, in the events though where something doesn't make sense, maybe we just delete it if it's not going to be used and we really can't figure it out and nobody has the time to go back and look at it.
Yeah, it almost sounds like he answered the question.
Say that again, Millie?
It sounds like he answered the wrong question.
Yeah, so maybe another question came up here. I just don't know, but whatever is said here just doesn't make sense. So for instances like this, do we just want to strike it?
That's fine.
Yep.
I'd agree.
All right. The other thing, these are just minor. I just tried to clarify what this was in reference to. Let's see, what did I say about this? So my other question was, this didn't make sense that Mr. Turner answered all of the radiation questions because he was the peer reviewer for groundwater, not radiation. So he's listed as the respondent for this entire section about questions on X-ray, which I don't think is correct. So what did I say? Your faces are in my way. Oh, it didn't make sense to me that he was answering questions on radiation. I don't recall it happening that way. I'd be surprised if he were. I think we had but the problem is there were two of them. So I don't, maybe we just say generically the radiation expert peer reviewer couldn't say, because we had two at that meeting. And I didn't have time to go back and look at who responded. So do we just want to put a generic, the peer reviewer, or the CN Associates said, or something? Does anyone recall Mr. Turner answering the radiation questions? I do not.
I don't think he did. I think it was the other gentleman, and I forgot his name.
Well, the one we had normally was Flaherty, Mr. Flaherty, but there was one other person, and now I can't remember his name. They went back and forth, so I just didn't have time to go back. So maybe we just say generically CN Associates. Then nobody has to go back. Otherwise, just some small edits here. Again, like rather than ask it as a question, just attributing it to Millie. I thought this was you. I don't mean to speak for you, but you had already commented on something, so I figured you probably asked that question. Feel free to disagree if you don't want that. A couple of minor edits in here. This might have been another. This was another one. It didn't make sense. I suggested to delete it if we couldn't fix. Oh, here we go. I suggested we delete it if we couldn't fix it. Does anyone remember what this was? So this must be talking about, this would allow us to put controls in place. So we can, controls in place on site, it would seem. So that we can make sure we have a specific order to make the concrete walls, but at the same time, if you do it off-site, we can still put the tools in place. So maybe that would help if we just add on-site here. Does that sound okay to everyone?
Mhm.
Okay. So this was a question about the stockpiles. I thought he did say they'd be there. We saw a plan where there are spaces for them, and we talked about whether or not the materials would blow in the wind. So I thought either he didn't.
I'd flag that too.
Okay. So either is recorded improperly. I mean, I guess to our discussion earlier, if something's not true in the minutes, it's what was recorded, but I would be surprised if this was what he said after then talking about how things won't blow out of those stockpiles. So I don't know what we want to keep that or.
That's a missed
Right.
recording.
I think what that was we were asking some of the slides that he was showing if they would look like the slides that he was showing, the examples. And he might have said, and then the board was concerned about whether they should be stockpiled there. And you might want to go back, but you'd have to go back. Staff is not going to go back. And he might have said they will not be there, as we had that discussion back and forth. Do they need to be there? Can they be taken off site?
But also to your point, it might have been that Mr. Kramer said they would not be there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah. It might be.
it sounds like they're going to be there because then he comes out.
Because I remember.
But then he answers the question.
I just wanted to say, I remember specifically pointing to, it was an example he was giving, and I don't think it was from like another area, an example of what another site looked like. And so that may be, like Millie said, it's just out of context, meaning not there, but at this other location on site.
Okay, so what about putting, I do vaguely remember that. What if we say would not be there or not be in the exact location presented in the slides or something like that?
Exactly.
Okay. Let's see, the minor, like when things are in parentheses, it seems like it's commentary from the person recording. So I just remove the parentheses. So it's viewed as part of what occurred. Obviously addresses, I suppose, are different. This I didn't understand out of context. Mr. Squante said they only need cement trucks that come from the cement plant to pour because it's not connected. I didn't know what that meant. I mean, I guess we could leave it if we think he just said it that way. Any thoughts on that one? Leave it and let it go?
I think you should leave it because maybe he did. It was part of the discussion.
Okay. So I added what we looked at the time because the next comment was that they only had a violation in one plant. And whether he said that or not, we were looking on the screen at 15 different violations and the DEP violation. So I don't know why one plant was recorded. I didn't have time to go back and look, but that wasn't accurate because they were looking at 15. I know for sure we were looking at 15 reports. So I just added that as the context of what we were reviewing at the time. And then when, you know, back to the point about when somebody states something as truth, you know, it's recorded as truth. I just put that he claimed that other violations occurred throughout the country and were not egregious. So that was his claim, not the board's determination.
Yep.
I think that was it. Oh, no. Oh, this just added what the comment by Ms. Babcock about the temporary structure included, the whole point of it was that the bylaw said it was a 12-month, the definition said it was 12 months. So that's what that reference. It was just out of context without that. This was conflicting. Michelle asked if that was that. Oh, I see. Never mind. I read it as separate sentences. Disregard. So it was Michelle that asked if Steris didn't want to go off site. Mr. Corelli said they are willing to go off site. Oops, which reminds me that previous version said Cardarelli and it's Corelli, I believe. This was after Attorney Janeski said you should give them another chance to opportunity to provide information. They were. I wanted to make sure I was recorded. They were given that opportunity to provide additional information and declined. I think that was it. I'll stop here with the Steris one to not get too far. Any questions, or Emmy? I know you had some additional edits. I'm gonna delete this.
Yeah, I just have to exit full screen. Let's see. Mine, if you go to page 3.
Okay.
Let me
Do you want me
bring
to
it
do it
back
on here?
up.
Is that easier for you, Kathy, to do it on one sheet?
Sorry. I mean, it is easier if it's all on one sheet to give to Melanie, but I mean, she's also listening as, you know, she's on this meeting. So she's also picking these up as you're talking.
Okay.
Okay. So mine on page 3, and I'm not looking at yours, I'm looking at mine so I can figure out where it is. It's after Gina Babcock. And the paragraph starts with Ms. Milton. And in the middle, it says Ms. Paretsky said in 1986, light manufacturing did not include radiation. And I said the light manufacturing definition. So I just added the word definition after light manufacturing.
Okay, so I'm on page 7, actually. Did you say?
And then it says the next, mine, let me see what page I'm on. The bottom of my sheet says page 3, but it is page 7, according to the Word document, sorry.
Okay, said.
I don't know why mine is numbered wrong.
That's okay. Ms. Paretsky said.
All right, so it is probably page 7, sorry. Ms. Paretsky said in 1986, light manufacturing definition did not include radiation.
Okay.
And then in 1992, radiation was added to the definition. So I just wanted to add the word definition and then to the definition at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the next paragraph, it says Ms. Gillespie said there was lots of conservation. I think it was conversation, not conservation.
Michelle, do you agree with that edit?
It says Ms. Gillespie said there was lots of conservation about it being on site, but I think it was supposed to be conversation about it being on site.
Yep, I agree.
And I'll just see if I have any more. A couple of them were ones you already brought up.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm down at the 1 Lyman Street. I had some changes. Oh, I guess it says 3 at the bottom of every page of mine. So it's page 9 now on 1 Lyman.
Okay.
The first paragraph that says Mr. Zaitin. And then at the bottom, it says the design review committee felt it was a very well-designed project. The building will be larger. And it doesn't say larger than what. So I added larger than his current building in Southborough is what they said.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had nothing of what it was larger than. So, and then in the next paragraph, the last sentence, it says they did offer the abutters across the street the opportunity. And I wanted to say the applicant because I was confused of whether it was a design review committee or the applicant in the context of that paragraph.
Yes. Okay.
So it was the applicant, it was Mr. Gould, and the applicant, it wasn't the design review committee. I just wanted to just change they to the applicant. And that was all I had.
Okay. I just added clarification. It just said possible to get out the other side. It was actually the Bartlett Street that I had asked when asking if they could move the loading dock. I wanted to know, could you even get out of in and out of Bartlett Street? And they could not. So that was the clarification there. The other section I had a lot of trouble with, I tried, oh no, it's not these minutes, it's a different one, sorry. Okay, that's all I had too. Any other edits to the minutes? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to accept the May 18th minutes as amended?
I make a motion, we accept May 18th, 2021 minutes as amended.
Okay, second?
Second.
Okay, I'm just gonna save these so I have them. All in favor? Miss Amy,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Millie, I don't see you. Oh, there you are. Millie
Aye.
and Carrie's an aye. Okay. All right, next we have the minutes from June 1st. Did everyone have a chance to read the minutes from June 1st?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any edits to the June 1st minutes?
I have to open them fast again. I had so many things open. So, there. I don't know if I read those. I have June 15th open. I might have missed those.
Oh no, these are June 1st.
Right. I think I missed the June 15th somehow because it didn't open on my screen.
Okay, do you want me to start to go through some of mine?
Sure.
Okay, so I didn't know, I thought the attendees from Lyme must have been here for Lyman Street. So I didn't know if we had to list them or not. It was a continued public hearing. So yes, they were definitely there. I don't know if we should add them in there. Is it others? Do we usually add them? I think we do. Oops, Kathy.
Yep, sorry. Yeah, we should put the, yes, we should put the attendees as part of that. So
Right.
Melanie can she'll just catch that from the minutes.
Okay, this is a section I had the most trouble with because there was a set of questions that we received and Attorney Gould went through them one by one and he just like, you know, he addressed them this way so I can understand why the minutes record them this way. But in reading it, if I were to try to understand the minutes as just like reading it as someone who didn't attend the meeting, it would just be weird. Number 3 doesn't call for an answer. I don't know what that means or where number 3 is. So I don't, in some cases, some things I thought we could save and I left those, but the ones that were highlighted are just kind of not really helpful and I thought we could just strike. I guess anything that's highlighted, we want to try to save or we think we can do without.
I think you can do without because they don't really have any significant meaning without the questions.
Yeah. Anyone thing that anyone else thinks can be saved somehow? Okay. Let's see. This actually doesn't make sense. I don't know why I edited it this way. Amy, this is your part. So let's see. The letter was screenshot. Ms. Paretsky said a minimum of 32 spaces are required, a maximum of 47, and asked why it is at 43 or 45. Does that make sense still? Did I edit that poorly?
I don't know. I know it is a minimum of 32 spaces.
So you must have said, all right, it's minimum 32, maximum.
I think I just asked them why they were, yeah. I guess I asked why they picked 45 when the minimum was 32 and the maximum was 47. I asked them why they picked the number of 45. And then I asked the applicant if they could minimize some of the pavement by taking out some of the parking spaces. Just because they said they only had like 10 employees. So I was wondering why they needed 45 parking spaces if they could just do a minimum of 32.
Does this read okay for you? Ms. Paretsky said a minimum of 32 spaces required with a maximum of 47 and asked why the applicant picked 43 or 45 parking spaces.
And you can just pick one of them. I think it was 45 parking spaces.
Okay. And then otherwise, oh, did you have something, Kathy?
No, sorry, am I still?
No, I think that's all I had. Oh, no, just a quick small fix. I think that's all I had. Oh no, here we go. Oh, I wanted to make sure for when we had somebody come in to present a case, an application that's not really an application, it was like a concept, that this was prefaced with the fact that we are willing to review the information, but no comments could be construed as a promise of approval or denial. I said something to that effect. I just wanted to capture it here so that it would be well known that this was just a courtesy general comment making session. Okay, any other edits to this?
I do. Carrie, can we just go back over your paragraph where you wanted to do deletes that the attorney had answered the questions for the
Sure.
applicant?
Yep, hold on a second. Let's see. Okay, here we go. We'll start at the top. Okay, do you want to say
I'm trying to understand what are you proposing to delete?
anything highlighted? I just didn't think was in context or added value, but if you see a way to save it, I don't mind. I just didn't really know how to save all of it.
So I guess if you go down a little further, okay. So I guess my issue is that you should keep it in because your attorney just said that if someone makes comments, but it doesn't make sense to you, but the comments are made, there are some comments here that you might go back to that you're moving, like, unless you want to put the questions in with it, Dave, what the design review had commented about. I don't know. This is a significant paragraph that the applicant's attorney answered the questions, but then we're taking the answers out. So it doesn't, I understand your thing where it says you don't know what the question is, but you're taking out all of his responses.
Mm-hmm. I mean, should we at least pull out the things that are like completely not helpful? Like number 3 doesn't call for an answer.
I think you should keep them in because if somebody asks what they are, they can go back and ask what the questions are.
So maybe is it in the, oh no, this isn't a decision. I was thinking there'd be an exhibit. So maybe well, yeah, he addressed concerns in email dated May 17th with 26 questions. The answers, maybe try to frame it a little bit.
We could send it, you could send it back with your concerns and we could try to fix it for next time. Maybe we add the questions in with the answers, like bullets, or I could do something where I add the questions and the answers in like a bullet form or something. If we want to leave the questions and answers in. But he did answer the question, so.
Well, Kathy, anytime we file minutes, if there's a whole, I assume, packet of relevant materials, do they go alongside the minutes or not necessarily? So if we
No.
reference, no.
No, nothing gets attached to the minutes
Okay.
as far as what gets filed with the town clerk's office and what's on our, webpage.
I mean, I think it's sufficient that you can say that the attorney had this letter from Anne, which had 26 questions, and here's how he answered them.
All right. I'm not stuck on it. It's fine with me. I just didn't make a whole lot of sense and I didn't have time to go back. So if the board wants to keep it, it makes no difference to me, really. Any thoughts? Do we want to just keep it and roll with it?
So if someone read the minutes, they could request the May 17th letter to go with it, like a public record request, I guess.
Yeah, they'd have to.
All right.
Do we want to just keep them and come what may? Anyone strong on deleting? No.
If it makes no harm
Would
to
you
you.
care if we waited till the next meeting? Would you mind tabling it till the next meeting? Because I read the 15th, but for some reason I didn't read these.
Do you want to go, you're going to go back and look at what the question was?
No, I'll go back and read all the minutes, the whole June 1st,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
But if the board wants to table it, that's fine with me. These are all the edits I had. I'm fine with not deleting these. It doesn't really matter to me. Do we want to table? Does the board want to table, or are there additional edits at this time? Any thoughts or additional edits?
I don't have any additional edits. I just think that the letter went from an abutter to the applicant, and the attorney went and answered all the questions, and that's what was picked up as part of the minutes. I understand what you're saying, that they don't say question number 1 was, and this was the answer. I think it's, I don't think it's appropriate to selectively choose what should stay and what should go in such a significant paragraph.
Yeah, that's fine. It sounds like nobody objects to leaving these, so I can remove the comments. I guess the next thing would just be if we want to, Amy, looking at them now, do you see other things that you would want to change that it would be worth the while, or? I'll go back.
No, if you went through them, I trust your changes. Because I'm sure if there was something, you would have caught it. If there was something that didn't make sense.
Well, that's a lot of pressure. Okay, there were no other edits from me, and so I'll delete those comments. We'll just leave that as is. Do we want to just make a motion to approve this June 1st minutes as amended?
Motion to approve the June 1st minutes as amended.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Amy,
Aye.
Millie,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Anthony,
Aye.
and Carrie's an aye. Okay, I have a couple more. And plus, I know if Melanie's listening, she can fix that. Oh, just one more. Okay, all right, I'm gonna move on to the 15th.
I had changes to this one.
Okay. All right, 15th. Do you want to pull it up or do you want me to go through? You want to start, name?
Sure.
All right, go ahead.
Huh?
Oh, actually, I was making the edit. So do you have extensive edits or just edits that I could make as part of what I'm looking at?
Actually, I kind of do, because this is the one I must have read before June 1st, and I saw a lot of things that, but I can read them out loud. It starts with the first paragraph.
No, that's okay. You can pull it. If you have extensive, it may make sense then. I'm trying to see what I had for this one. I had a couple areas where I had some changes.
Okay, I'll share it. If I... Is it sharing?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so the first paragraph, and maybe this had to do with you, Carrie, I had to go back and listen at the beginning to see how it started. And Attorney Donahoe was present. This was in person. And then it started stating a recap, but it didn't say why. He all of a sudden just jumped in. But Attorney Donahoe was present, and Ms. Martinek asked if he had anything new for the board since the last time we met.
Mhm.
And then Attorney Donahoe stated he wanted a recap. He said they, and he meant the Gutierrez company. A lot of times in the recent meetings where it said they, I couldn't figure out if it was they, the board, or they, the company. But in this case, it was the company, completed the review with the board of the technical components of the subdivision in February. And so then I go on. There were no further comments from him or the DPW. And then the next sentence, it went on to say, an issue arose later in February with regard to the requirement of whether the MWRA, as owner of the aqueduct, had to sign the application. And then I crossed out this because it was confusing to me. It was like letters were exchanged, board received a letter from the attorney for the abutters. Like it was a lot. And I didn't know how to rewrite it, so I just deleted it. And if others... And then I wrote the applicant was requested by the board to see if they could have the MWRA execute Form C and or some letter that would indicate their consent. And then here it was have, should be has, the applicant has been unsuccessful. And instead of the, I wrote the applicant was advised as a matter of policy. And I can send this to Kathy. It's mostly taking the theys and saying who the they was, because I wasn't sure going through it who they were.
Okay, and your comment for the February 16th part, is that something, was that said?
That was to me, because that's when I went back to listen. That's why I made a comment.
Okay.
I wanted to go back and listen to it.
Okay.
It was a comment that he actually made when he was recapping. And that's why I added that he said he wanted to recap.
Okay.
I didn't know if that was something that, who said it.
Okay.
And then there were some things that were, he feels the plan does not comply with the subdivision, because there were places where it said like Ms. Paretsky feels or Mr. Zeiten feels, but when it stated the plan does not comply with the subdivision rules and regulations, it makes it sound like fact, where it was actually Attorney Donahoe said he feels it didn't comply.
Mm-hmm.
And in his opinion, that is the purpose of the board's review. In his opinion, the applicant has demonstrated to the board that there is no question of the legal right to cross the aqueduct. So a lot of it was his opinion that he had met, and he stated the board was provided a copy of the right of easement.
Mhm.
So I went on to the second page. It's talking about the subdivision and it says sidewalks, which this sentence didn't make sense. So I guess sidewalks are mandated in the subdivision requirements. I added mandated. And this one, I didn't know who the they was. I started to get, I was going through all the days and I started to run out of time to go back and check them all. So with this sentence said they drafted a specific condition that the construction pursuant to the subdivision could not commence until they provided the board and they had an opportunity to review the 8M permit. So I'm assuming they, the applicant or the state provided the board. And that's where I ran into on this. And I don't know if someone else can look at some of these sentences. I don't know if you had the same questions, Carrie, but I was trying to figure out who they was in a couple of these sentences.
So they, I think in this case, was the applicant. So
The
they
applicant
drafted,
provided the
yeah.
board.
And then the next day is the board. So the applicant drafted a condition, the construction to be pursuant, that the subdivision couldn't commence until the applicant provided the board. Wait, hold on.
And then it's the board what?
With a copy of the M8M permit.
Was that added in there or does it have to be added in there?
Well, that was the condition. I don't know if you want to clarify it or not, but so they would provide a copy of the 8M permit and the board had an opportunity to review. Wait, oh God.
But we wouldn't have an opportunity to review it because a decision would have been made. Because this is a condition he wanted to add to the decision.
Then maybe just cut the from, I personally think cut from, and they had an opportunity to review. Or I don't know. It is confusing on who's doing what.
Right? There were a lot of days and I didn't know who was doing what.
So can I just say, in the sentence where it starts, the applicant, they is implying that that's the applicant. So the applicant has proposed a condition of approval so that there's no risk they could start the construction without the consent from MWRA, right?
Mhm.
He said they drafted a specific condition that the construction pursuant to the subdivision could not commence until they, right, the applicant, provided, you don't have to repeat the applicant all these times because you know who you're talking about, right? Provided the board with a copy of the 8M permit, right? And you can take the repetitive they had and just say, and had an opportunity to review the 8M permit that made a specific reference to the subdivision.
Okay, I think that works. If you
Yeah,
cut out
because
that-
they wouldn't be reviewing the 8M
In
permit,
the
I wouldn't think. It would be
paragraph
someone
that you're
else.
repeating the applicant, Amy, it's somewhat implied when you read the sentence. So in this one, I think it's implied. I don't think you have to say the applicant every time.
Right, but this one, they would provide the board a copy of the 8M and they, I think, would have been the planning board to review it. Like, they wouldn't provide it and then they wouldn't review it. Like, I don't know, I'll just take it out. Oh, I should have just crossed it out. I don't know. This one's really confusing to me because we wouldn't really be able to review it because the condition was already made. The decision would be made.
Well, I think you should remember what your attorney just talked to you about, which means that this overall shows what was discussed, but if this is going to go to a court, that they're going to have to resubmit it again okay, because you denied the application.
Okay,
Right, you just want it to make some sort of sense
It makes
Oh,
sense to
to
me.
someone who's reading it in the future.
well, this edit looks good. I think this is okay.
Okay. And then I added he feels. So 2 paragraphs down. Attorney Donahoe did not disagree with town councils indicate that it's fair to get, it didn't say what it was getting. So I added the signature from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And then in the next sentence, I added in his opinion.
Okay, I had some edits to this paragraph as well.
Okay,
But so far, I think one of them was a similar edit to you, the just putting in, clarifying if it's in his opinion. And then I fixed that statement about that bottom line that didn't make sense. I fixed that.
right. Okay. Do you want me to type it here, or you can? We can both send our edits.
Okay.
Let me see if I has. Well, this is when it got into a discussion with the minutes between town council and Carrie, and Michelle was asking Kathy to get a copy of her interpretation, but then I thought Kathy said she agreed with what you said, so maybe I just leave it out, and I don't know, it was getting confusing.
So I did make an edit to the areas too. We can go back to.
Okay, do you want me to let you go back?
No, that's okay.
That's the end I have for this. Should I go up?
Okay, you're stopping at before one lineman, or you going, do you have additional edits?
Yep. Nope, do you want me to stop sharing screen?
No, do you
Or
want
should I
to?
go to one?
Yeah, do you want to just
lineman?
go through it and we'll just knock it out?
Yeah, I'll just finish. I don't think I had that many more. It just started off the bat with Ms. Paretsky felt the applicant worked very hard with the design review committee, but I wanted to start with the board deliberated and voted on the Lyman Street application because that's what we were doing. It wasn't, just I jumped in. We started the board deliberations.
Mm-hmm.
And I made the first sentence one instead of with the design review committee and all the town boards. I stated the use was previously approved by the ZBA. And then I just took the N out of this and also show that there's no spillover. Oh, there's a lot here. Just because this kept going on saying there was another condition, another condition, another condition. I took all the conditions and just put them in bullets instead of sentence that kept saying another condition was, another condition was. I just said Ms. Paretsky mentioned possible conditions the board discussed and I listed them. It made more sense.
Okay, so it's the same content, it's just in a bullet form?
Yeah. Yep. And then I changed the sheet to Ms. Paretsky because to just show that it was still me talking. And this was just a typo, I think, with the transcription I fixed. And then we'll get down to Mr. Litchfield will be contacted on the outstanding groundwater conditions. I just said Mr. Litchfield was not in attendance and will be contacted on the outstanding groundwater conditions. And then I changed work to worked. And Ms. Zeiton was supposed to be Mr. Zeiton. And I think that's the last one. And I can send them, oh, no, sorry. Then we went down the conditions for 1 Lyman Street again. This, the first one had 2 conditions in 1 sentence. So I just took out the second half of it and added it to the bottom. Because if I put it as 2, it would have changed all the numbers. And then no outside storage of goods will be held outside. I just thought it was no outside storage of goods. Made more sense. And that was it. Oh, maybe not. Sorry. Then when we were discussing Lisa, it said, due to the town council recommendation that Ms. Mazzelli receive a formal letter about the matter to be discussed, the decision was tabled.
Okay.
And then I added something about the 61A. Said it was discussed at open space. It was determined it was not a desirable property, but it was using open space standards. They didn't just say it was desirable or not desirable, but using open space standards, it wasn't desirable one that they would choose. But it wasn't like saying it was an undesirable lot in general. So those are mine, and I can forward them to Kathy. Anybody have any questions? Sorry, I'll stop sharing.
Okay, let's see. So I didn't have any edits until we got to this section. Said the board requested she share some references made from a meeting with town council. So Amy, all of your previous edits, I did not make any of those. So this is the first paragraph where I started to edit. Which is, I think, Amy, you actually did make one of these edits, so I think we could take one out, but just to, I added that he claimed that, just further claims what he stated, just to Amy's original point, it's not just a statement of fact, it's what the applicant felt or stated. This I fixed, so what was said was, he thought it was fair for the board to ask for it. And it was Mr. Donahue who said it would be fair for the board to ask for it as a condition, not town council. So I just clarified that. And then I also wanted to clarify that it was an opposition. Oh, this was a sentence that didn't make sense that you highlighted, Amy. And I just fixed it to clarify what that sentence actually meant. Like you highlighted that. What I did was I clarified that town council didn't position as a condition, but it was to be written proof of that the state was aware of the subdivision and the applicant proceed with the plan as shown. So that clarifies that statement. This next part you talked about, Amy, I just made the edits when Michelle had asked Kathy if she disagreed with my notes from the meeting. I had asked Kathy if she disagreed with it. And Kathy's response was that her recollection was the deed was proof the MRWA owns the property and owns for multiple years. And then just clarification on it, that the document I had made at the time, clarification, the document was not, there were statements by town council, not interpretation. So that was already in the minutes that it was my interpretation, but I just clarified what this was in reference to. Otherwise it didn't make sense what it was referring to. I didn't make any additional edits until Lyman Street. And so we can go back in a minute. Just clarifying it's the hours of operation versus the hours of lights out. Although we didn't do we do an hours of operation condition?
I think we did.
Okay,
It was
so that
like-
was, okay. Amy, you had already caught this one, had worked, just changing the tense. I just wanted to make sure that we had talked about adding Fred's conditions from his memo on 316. I just wanted to make sure that was referenced. Maybe it doesn't matter, but I also flagged this, Amy. I just made a comment that this looked like 2 combined and you already fixed it. So that solved that problem. And then I had no other edits except for just instead of, again, that issue of just putting a question out there, I just attributed it to myself that I asked the planning board that question. Okay, are there going back, any comments or additional edits to what I've amended here? I'm gonna go back to the Starus Mine Start here. I'm sorry, the subdivision.
They all look good to me.
And then,
So can I recommend, since there were so many significant changes from Amy and from Kerry, can we just get a clean copy and review them at the next meeting?
sure,
That sounds good.
Sure. Either I can send them to you, Carrie, and you can combine, or you can send them to me and I can combine, or we send them to Kathy and she combines. And then it can be sent out to everybody. Whichever way works. I don't mind combining them if you want to save people time.
okay.
Either way, what do you think, Kathy?
I'm not taking notes because you're typing them as we're going. So
Yeah,
if you have them all typed up,
okay.
and then I can just distribute them.
Okay, Kat and Carrie, if you send them to me, I'll merge them.
Okay. Did anybody else have any edits to these?
Not I.
All right. So it looks like me and Amy just tortured everybody, so no other.
We tortured ourselves. It was hard going back to listen. Yeah, only little bits and pieces.
Okay. Okay. So I actually did not have a chance to look at the July minutes yet. Did anybody have a chance to look at those or have?
I did.
No.
Can we table July as well? Is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So next agenda, we'll get a clean copy for the 15th, the minutes from the 15th, just for that final look. And then we'll table the 7-6 minutes till that time.
Okay.
Okay. I don't have any further items for this evening.
Carrie, I just thought of two things. The zoning board of appeals is not meeting in August. There's only one application, so it was moved to September. And that's a sign application for Wegmans. And then the other item, and I had asked town council about this before our meeting tonight. I had done a mix-up on the agenda about 172 Barefoot Road. And so Carrie and I had an email conversation earlier today about 172 Barefoot Road. If people aren't familiar with it, it's a special permit and site plan that the planning board had approved a few years ago. It was 2017 or 2018. And there's now a new owner of the property. Nothing's ever been built on the site, but a new owner has come in, and a new owner of the property. And, they're proposing to do the same thing that was, already approved. And, but their special permit needs to be extended. And so they had originally requested to be on, a prior agenda, because town council had figured out with the state of emergency and the governor putting a stay on permit expirations, that once the state of emergency was lifted, this particular permit expired July 28th. And so I was asking town council tonight about, that the board was not able to meet. They had requested to be put on an agenda, but the board wasn't able to meet. We didn't have 4 people, a minimum of 4 people available for, July 28th. So I asked them if the planning board was able to retroactively, because they weren't able to meet, by the time this permit expired, is the planning board able to retroactively extend the special permit? And he said that yes, the planning boards are allowed to do it. Planning board and ZBAs are allowed to do that. And especially in this particular case, he said, given that the time frame was, was caught up in the COVID and the state of emergency, and then that the planning board wasn't able to meet you know, by July 28th to possibly, you know, extend the permit. So he said it's something, if the board wanted to entertain that, you know, that extension, that is something that you could do at your August meeting. So I just wanted to let everybody know that's, you know, that's a possibility. I know the applicant is, you know, still interested in that, obviously. I told them that they weren't originally, I did have them on the agenda tonight, but we had taken them off. So, you know, if that's something that you want to put on your August agenda.
And so in terms of like an application process, so originally we were never going to meet in July beyond the 6th. So what was their plan when the planning board was not meeting more than July 6th? Like, was there an application filed that like bookmarked their case or any?
No, no, they don't. When you ask for an extension, it's just, you just send in a letter or an email asking for the extension. So they had done that. So so I had indicated to them that I would see if I could get the board, you know, to meet. And then we had something else that we were, you know, that we were going to talk about on the 28th. I don't know if it was an executive session or, but anyway, so they could have, you know, essentially been on the agenda tonight. And again, town council said it's still, you know, okay for you to, you know, consider their extension request at your next meeting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's see. So on the 7th, after our July 6th meeting, they requested to be placed on the agenda, and then we didn't have that meeting. So that's their, that email is their, I guess the start of the start of their request.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been working with them in-house for months, but yeah, that was there when I told them that their permit was going to expire on July 28th. So then they, you know, requested the extension.
So for a full year, we didn't know, or how did they not like, it just seems so.
I don't know when they bought the property.
Okay. All right. Any thoughts on that from board members?
I'm concerned with the precedent it sets, you know. I'm just concerned because, yeah, we had picked in June that we're only meeting on July 6th. So we had no other dates in July. And it just concerns me that we're setting a precedent now about retroactive permit extensions.
There's no precedent, Amy. Only the courts can. No board has any authority to make precedent.
Right.
That's only in the courts.
Yeah.
But they could take it to court. Somebody else could say, well, you know, you let them come in after.
Like what's the,
So we
where
want
does
to
it
come in
stop?
after.
But I guess you know, it's the board's decision, but I guess why would you not consider someone's request to extend their permit? I mean, it's in the past, it's between, you know, whether it's the planning board or the ZBA, I mean, it's just, you know, a matter of course that people ask for extensions. You know, the special permits are only good for 2 years. A variance is only good for 1 year. You know, the state statute allows both boards to, you know, to extend, you know, the special permits and the variances. So, I mean, there's a Massachusetts general law allows you to do that.
So one question I have is, I was trying to, you know, when I originally saw this message, I was trying to quickly figure it out. And it did look like there were cases where there was an appeal and it was deemed that the planning board unlawfully extended it. The special permit didn't exist after X date, so they unlawfully extended it. So I'd be interested to hear from council on why that, then there was a Massachusetts case. So I'd be interested to hear directly from council on under what condition that is okay, because it didn't look like once a special permit expires, there's nothing there to, there's nothing there to lawfully extend. So that's my one concern with that.
So do you want me to have what he told me tonight? Do you want me to have him put it in writing?
Yeah, just to like, let us know, like, if it doesn't exist as of a certain date, is there a problem there for us? And
Okay.
also, along the lines of precedence, I mean, one thing that I get nervous about with, starting to open that gate is that, like, well, if your permit expired 2 weeks ago, can you come back? What about a month? Like, what is the cutoff? If not the expiration date, what cutoff do you get? And that's a struggle for me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, again, it's all reasonable. I mean, I think, you have to apply sort of reason and logic to this. I mean, if someone, if someone let their permit expire and, a year later comes into the board and it's like, oops, I didn't know, or something. I mean, that's certainly not legitimate.
But true, but for a 2018 permit, how do we not know that this is expired? Like, at what point is it, I don't, negligence is a strong word, but at what point, like, are you responsible to understand when your special permit expires, especially if it's not just like it's actually 3 years old. So at what point is it your responsibility to be aware of that versus, like, make it a fire drill for the planning board that makes members nervous about, I don't know. I struggle with that a little bit. I don't know. Other
Right.
thoughts on that from any other board members?
I just know from classes I've gone to, and even the application I did in front of the ZPA, they were very strict on counting 25 days. And if you didn't make your 25 days, it wasn't going to be entertained. So I do get concerned with, okay, like you're saying, where's the cutoff? And who gets the special permit to extend and who doesn't?
So we were going to meet in July because I remember we were scheduled to meet and it was canceled. So it could be at that point, staff had advised the clients that we were going to meet in July, which would have, I don't know if met their criteria or not. I agree with Kathy. You're only talking about a couple of weeks. You're not talking about a year, 6 months. And you are going through COVID times. It's a new owner and you're trying to be a business friendly, and they've already fulfilled their application and they're supposed to come back before you, Amy, from the design review committee, which then could come back to, if there are issues, come back to the planning board. So I don't know why you want to just not let them move forward and work with them to see what, you can, like Kathy say, be reasonable and let the development of that parcel be built out. I don't think it's an unreasonable request. It's not like 6 months or a year. And we were going to meet in July.
Well, we called an extra meeting on the 13th, but we only agreed to meet on July 6th. That was we all wanted one meeting in July, and they weren't on the July 6th meeting. So I would have thought they would have known before then. It's not that I want to be unreasonable, but I just feel setting precedents is, where do you cut the line? Where do you draw the line?
There is no precedent. There isn't any board that has the power to establish precedent. That's not what a board in Massachusetts can do. So, I mean, you have a simple request before you that they're asking to extend their special permit. It's done like I said, as a matter of course in the past. I mean, if this board chooses not to do that, that's fine. I just wanted to bring it to your attention that, they've requested, town council has said that it's okay, that you can extend the permit, even though it expired in July 28th because of COVID and because the fact that you didn't have a meeting. So regardless of whether you were going to meet or not going to meet, they sent in their request. Tonight was the first meeting since their request, and then you have another meeting coming up that town council said it would still be okay for you to consider their request. So, so that's all there is to say, at least on my behalf. I'm not advocating or not advocating. That's not what we do as staff. Just pointing out you have a request before you. Town council has said that it's okay for you to consider it. And so, whether you want me to put it on the August agenda or not and let the applicant know tomorrow, just let me know.
Okay, well, Anthony Amirli, you haven't commented at all. Any thoughts from you?
I guess I don't understand. So the special or the application was approved based on a set of criteria from 3 years ago. Are we starting fresh then with what they want to do?
No, all they're asking for is an extension of their special permit. State statute allows an applicant to ask for an extension of their special permit and their variance. You can do a special permit extension year by year. You know, you can grant it for a year extension, you can grant it for 2 years, you can grant it for 3 years. It's up to the board to decide how long they want to grant the extension for. On a variance, a board can only, I mean, it's the zoning board of appeals anyways, not this board, but the state statute is very clear that you can only grant an extension on a variance for 6 months. So that's all. And they got caught in the time of when their permit was going to expire because of COVID. I don't have the decision pulled, you know, I mean, I think I sent everyone the decision. So I couldn't even tell you right now what date it was that the original applicant, you know, applied and was granted. So it's just a very straightforward request allowed by state statute to extend a special permit.
Is it a state statute to extend it if it's already expired? I guess that's what the question is.
Well, but as I've explained, because of the state of emergency, everything froze. And then town council I just checked with him tonight. I was, you know, at 5:15, I was on the phone with him going over some of the executive session items. And then I said to him, while I have you, I have a question about, you know, what is the board allowed to do when something has already expired and a person has requested, you know, prior to the extension, but prior to it expiring, the applicant has requested, you know, an extension. And he said, absolutely, the board can still take that under consideration. And then I said, well, we don't have it on the agenda for tonight. And he said, you can put it on your next agenda. That's totally legitimate.
Did you have something else along those lines, Anthony, or that was your thought? That was just your question?
No, so it was approved based upon a set of criteria, and I remember this. It was a contractor's building, and it was and I kind of remember the design and what I think he was going to do an extra building too, or plan for an extra.
Yeah, there's two buildings.
So these guys are going to do the identical same site plan that we saw before.
Yes, they want to do, the buildings are going to be located in this, everything's the same, except what they want to do is change the pitch of the roof. So that's putting them back before design review. So design review committee hasn't been able to meet yet to talk about the pitch of the roof, but they've submitted all their materials. It's gone to the design review committee. And so the design review committee just, you know, actually 2 people were on vacation last week. So we're hoping that this week we'll be able to get, you know, a meeting within the next week or so for these folks.
They're still doing 2 buildings? I thought
Another thing.
Wait, is it still 2 buildings? I thought it was down to 1.
No, it's 2 buildings.
Okay. All right. Well, we don't have to deliberate that now. All right. Go ahead, Amy. Sorry.
There's another with this. Oh, sorry. With this special permit, and I think I sent an email out to Kathy and probably Bob. I'll have to go back and check. I had another question because I think on the site plan it says contractor's yard, but in the special permit it was approved for a commercial storage facility. And I guess my question, before I even wanted to extend this, and this isn't why, I just thought of it, is we'd have to have a discussion with Bob on, you know, what is the use here? Is it a commercial storage facility? Is it a contractor's yard? And what's the difference? Like, why did the decision say commercial storage facility and the site plan says contractor's yard? Like, they're 2 different definitions in our bylaws. I guess I just wanted to straighten that out too. And if we had a clean special permit go through, then it would be clean on what it really is. I have a problem going forward with 2 different uses.
And 2 different plans.
And it's not their fault, but they did buy it. And they did buy it last year because I think they've been discussing, like Kathy said, with town staff for months. So It's just concerning. I don't know why they didn't apply for the extension before July, if it was running out.
At design review, Amy, was there, I feel like there was, something about just starting with one building and then moving up to
Yeah,
two. and
They were
then-
just, yeah,
So the plan just has one building on it now? Or it has two and one will be for
No,
sale?
it's the exact same plan. They just want to change the roof pitch on the building that's out front, the building that's closer to the front.
Okay,
So
they
that,
said they might have to build it in phases.
it hasn't gone to the design review committee yet. I'm
oh,
trying to
I
get
feel
it.
like I saw it there.
Yeah, no, we were in front of design review. That was my first meeting.
It's right, I'm sorry, Amy. They had to come back with window placement or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And they submitted
window
that.
placement,
Yeah.
some of them maybe garage doors.
So we
Yeah.
haven't been able to do this, the second meeting yet. We haven't been able to schedule that.
And then I think we were told that once they got their extension, that they were gonna come back and amend the special permit.
Well, they have to do that.
That was the-
Anyone that, if the change is not considered an administrative change and that it has to go back before the design review committee, then the design review committee is only advisory in nature. So they have to
Mhm.
advise either the planning board or the zoning board of appeals. So that's why then the applicant would then submit an application to revise their original decision.
Okay, so I do want to send whatever I was looking at to town council and have him evaluate where other planning boards have gotten into trouble with retroactive decisions. I don't want to be in that same position. Or I know we say it doesn't set a precedent, but inevitably someone will come back and say, you let them do it. So it's a psychological precedent, if not a legal one, that people get that in their heads. So I think I'd want to get a little feedback on that. I don't know, any other thoughts?
We also were told by town council once before that, of course, if we allow it from one person, that we have to stay, it definitely sets a precedent. I swear he told us that. Maybe not in the court's eyes, but if you allow it for one, you have to be open to allowing it for the next person.
So Amy and Carrie, since you have the concerns, if your legal counsel comes back and says that they don't have concerns about it, he reads the case study that Carrie is referencing. Are you in agreement that they can come out at the next meeting following it?
I also want to figure out the difference. Maybe he can answer it or Bob can answer it. Per our bylaws, it's called a commercial storage facility. So
I've got red flags on this one that I just want to see through. I don't like the way it came down. I feel like there's a level of, I don't know if there's a level of responsibility that was missed or should have been there, but I don't think it should be the planning board having a fire drill, trying to, I do want to hear what town council has to say, but I mean, I guess without knowing his answer, I can't really just know what I think from there. I think I have some concerns overall about how this has transpired. Maybe I don't know the full story or understand how it transpired, but there are things that stand out to me as bothersome about this one. So I just want to make sure we fully take a look at it.
So if I could just ask if you're going to send something on to town council, include it with all the other board members so we can see what
Oh yeah, sure.
case study you're referencing.
Yeah,
that
sure.
you have, and then town council comes back to the board and explains why he had that.
Sure, I don't mind that. Okay, Millie, anything from you, or Anthony, anything additional from you?
No, I think it makes sense to delve into this a little bit further and just make sure that we're making the right decisions for everybody and hopefully come up with something that works.
Okay, Anthony, anything else from you?
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd like to further vet it. I feel these are areas we can get ourselves into trouble, especially when we're doing last minute approvals or extensions, whatever we want to call this.
Okay, all right, I'll send that out to everybody and hopefully we can get a better sense of what our parameters are and what we want to do. Okay, anything else? That's all I have.
That's all my list.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second,
All in favor? Amy?
Aye.
Millie?
aye.
Anthony?
Aye.
Michelle?
I.
And Carrie's an aye. Good night, everybody.